CBS Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
One great Super Bowl moment after another here in the Superdome in New Orleans, and we're counting down to Super Bowl 47 here in New Orleans, and that clock's moving right along. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, welcome everyone. The New Orleans Saints have won the toss. They will receive a couple of 0-2 teams with victory on the line.
And Greg, you know every member of the Saints has thought about it, maybe not spoken about it, but thought about being the first home team to get to play in a Super Bowl in their own stadium. And 0-2 didn't factor into that when they were dreaming about it.
Ryan Suckup ready to kick it away to Darren Sproles, number 43, and we are underway in New Orleans. Sproles will return this one from 2 yards deep in his own end zone. Tripped up as he crossed the 15 out to about the 17-yard line. Drew Brees, the quarterback in his 7th season here in New Orleans, has thrown for more than 4,000 yards every year as a Saint, twice for more than 5,000, including an NFL record 5,476 yards in a superb season throwing the football last year.
I think Marcus Colston is on the sideline, Greg, as they open up in a tighter formation.
Right off the bat, Pierre Thomas has nowhere to go as Derek Johnson makes the stop. Marcus Colston was just a couple of question marks, and of course here he comes now, number 12.
Yeah, Colston has a plantar fascia tear in his left foot. It can be very painful, and there's no question that it has really inhibited his ability to run. The Saints coaching staff is watching him extremely closely today to see how effective he's going to be.
On 2nd and 10, Brees over the middle finds Colston, and Colston out to about the 25-yard line. Let's check the starting lineup. The Saints with a big and talented offensive line that includes one of the best right guards in football in Jari Evans, the backs and the receivers, and Drew Brees gets Devery Henderson back, blazing speed at wide receiver. He missed last week, the result of a week 1 concussion.
And Greg, you're right when you use the term blazing speed. Henderson stretches a defense. He almost commands a safety over the top.
On 3rd and 2, this is Sproles. First down yardage and then some. Up the sideline. Cuts it back toward the middle. Inside the 30. Huge gain for Sproles and a first down for the Saints.
Well, if there's a better back out of the backfield in football than Sproles, I'd like to know who it is, but it's mostly in the passing game. Here he just takes a pitch and he breaks Kansas City's contain. Great blocking out front by the New Orleans Saints. He got a great block by Courtney Roby, the wide receiver, Jermon Bushrod, the left tackle. That was the simplest of pitch plays, and they broke down the Kansas City D.
Darren Sproles with his first rushing attempt of the season, and it goes for 47 yards.
That's a tendency breaker because he's been involved only in the past.
On first down, that's complete. Inside the 15, inside the 10. It'll be 1st and goal. Marcus Colston on the reception.
Well, Marcus Colston running a simple little slant pattern and the perfect strike from Brees, and he's getting way too much cushion. Stanford route giving him a lot of room underneath, and underneath is where Colston does his work. He's not going to climb over the top of a defense. He's all his work in that second intermediate level.
47-yard gain followed by the 19-yard pickup, and Brees to the end zone and dropped at the goal line. In and out of the hands of Colston. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Well, it looks like the Saints are executing the Marcus Colston drive here, as he's the guy that's being targeted by Drew Brees, and he puts it right on his hands, and he dropped it before Flowers got it away from him. You can see Brandon Flowers coming in there with the late coverage, but that ball was already bouncing away.
That is Jimmy Graham, the fine tight end. 2 TD catches on the year. Brees. Throw, end zone, touchdown. more.
When Drew Brees makes a decision, picks a receiver, and decides to throw the football, the time between that decision and when the ball leaves his fingers is startlingly short. And that was just the only place where only Lance Moore could catch it, away from the defense. And what a surgical drive by the Saints to start this game. That is their interim head coach, Aaron Kromer, also their offensive line coach for the last 5 years.
46th straight game with a touchdown pass from Drew Brees as he approaches John Unitas' NFL record. The extra point is good. Lance Moore on the receiving end of his second TD catch of the season. The Saints jump on top of the Chiefs 7-0. Well, Kansas City's red zone defense continues to be porous. That's 11 scores and 11 trips by the opponent, including that one. And Drew Brees moves to within one game of Johnny Unitas' mark of 47 consecutive games with a touchdown pass.
And just think about it. You don't need me to tell you that when Johnny Unitas was throwing the football, it was
down at the 10-yard line. He's forward to the 13. Johnny Patrick with the special teams play. The Chiefs quarterback is 8-year veteran Matt Cassel. 3 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions on the year. Chiefs need to keep him upright. He has been sacked 8 times already this young season.
And the Kansas City Chiefs, now as they're just at the very beginning of the 3rd game of the season, have not been ahead for 1 second of a game so far this year. They have been in a trail position the whole season.
This is Jamal Charles, and that's going nowhere. The Kansas City offensive front includes right tackle Eric Winston, the former Houston Texan, in his first year with the Chiefs. And the backs and the receivers, the Chiefs missing tight end Kevin Boss this afternoon, but they do have Dwayne Bowe, one of the league's fine wideouts, number 82.
And not only are you down 7-0, but let me tell you, there's a sense of urgency now in the Kansas City huddle that they have to at least put together a couple first downs, because they saw their defense and Romeo Crennel's defense just get shredded. There's pressure for them to just hold on to the ball.
This is Peyton Hillis, and Hillis bulls his way forward. Forward progress will be marked at about the 18-yard line. Up front on the Saints D is Will Smith, back from suspension, came into the league as a 2nd-round pick of these Kansas City Chiefs. At linebacker, Curtis Lofton plays the middle for veteran Jonathan Vilma, who's on the physically unable to perform list. And the secondary features the superb 3rd-year cornerback Patrick Robinson, a former 1st-round pick out of Florida State. There is defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo.
And right now, his front 4 is less concerned with a running quarterback and more concerned with executing a pass rush.
3rd and 4. Cassel, that's complete across the 25 out to the 28 or 29-yard line to Dwayne Bowe, who makes his first catch of the day.
Wow, talk about getting that into a small window. What a throw by Cassel, and well caught by Dwayne Bowe. You know, it's a high percentage pass, but look at that going right. You know, a couple Saints bracketed inside and out. Patrick Robinson coming in from the outside. Corey White coming in. He gets actually his helmet on the football, but Bowe holds on.
One step at a time for the Chiefs, and that first down was much needed. Cassel, deep drop. They'll throw it out into the flat. This is Charles at the sideline. Out of bounds at about the 33.
There's Brian Dable, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, I mentioned it before, they moved the sticks. But that was so critical for Kansas City just to possess this football and to let their defense catch its breath over on the sidelines. Because when you get carved up on an opening drive like that, that's a little demoralizing.
2nd and 6. Out to the near side, but Dexter McCluster with running room and a blocker in front of him. And he is across midfield and out of bounds at the New Orleans 47.
Great job by Brandon Albert, the left tackle out front. And Roman Harper wanted nothing to do with him. All right, just to the left, those are the feet. And Roman Harper, number 41, He's going, are you kidding me? I didn't sign up for this. I'm supposed to get through him to get to the football? No thanks.
20-yard pickup. First down, Kansas City at the 47. Charles running room on the right side. And that will be enough for a first down to the 36.
Well, and keep in mind now that the Saints defense is dead last in the NFL in yardage given up. An average, an astonishing 461 yards in their first two games that they gave up. And we can see that Kansas City is going through them pretty well right now as well.
End around. This is McCluster. McCluster looking for a block, squeezes through, and is down at about the 31 to 32-yard line.
Jonathan Casillas, the linebacker, gets over there. The one thing that New Orleans can do defensively is that they do have fine speed. They can run. And a great job there by Harper, 41. You saw him, how he always kept contained, kept the block on his inside shoulder, turned it back in good hustle by Casillas. But that, he set the edge. Granted, it was a really wide edge and a moving edge, but he still turned the play back in.
5 yards on the play, 2nd and 5. Cassel throwing and complete, diving for the first down is McCluster, and he has it at about the 26-yard line.
Well, Dexter McCluster is a small man, 5'8", 170, and he's coming into this game with a sore shoulder, but he is one tough guy. And again, the bootleg, Matt Cassel comfortable getting out. Matt Cassel's comfortable on the move. He throws a good ball when he's in full stride like that. And that was an example of it right there. And another first down for the Chiefs.
Wait, 20. What's up?
Charles squeaking through inside the 20 to about the 16-yard line and close to another first down.
Wow, and you know, at first I thought that play was going to get blown up because Cameron Jordan, number 94, gets way upfield. Look at that. And you got to see that Charles has to cut back to the inside. Eric Winston stayed on him and rode him to the outside, but a lot of times when a back has to make that big of a cut, there's someone there to cut it off. The Saints are a little lax in their pursuit.
This Chiefs team has failed to score on its opening drive the last 19 games. It's the longest running streak in the league. This is Charles, left side, waits for a block, out of bounds, just shy of the 10-yard line. Now, this Chiefs offense is no slouch. It comes into this game averaging more than 407 yards a game and more than 150 yards rushing.
Yes, you're right, Greg. And right now, Brian Dable is really mixing things up. He's challenging every part of New Orleans defense, and he's going to the perimeters. And a lot of people try to attack the Saints straight up the field because of that good team speed they have. But Dable's getting his guys to the outside, and they're breaking contain on occasion.
First down and 10.
Got a cluster at the top there.
Charles, nowhere to go. Looks like he may have lost 2 on the play, met at the line of scrimmage by Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson, part of the rotation in their defensive line.
A veteran of the Arena Football League, the Canadian Football League, well-traveled.
Yep. Cedric Ellis and Broderick Bunkley are the 2 starting tackles. But the Saints rotate their defensive line like most teams do, in and out. You need 8 defensive linemen to play in this league these days.
Cassel has a man crossing inside the 10 to about the 7 or the 6, and that's its tight end, Tony Moeaki.
And a good tackle by Malcolm Jenkins. Jenkins, a big free safety at a little over 6 feet tall. And his responsibility, you can see he's locked on Moeaki all the way. That's just straight man coverage.
3rd and 6. It is possible for the Chiefs to get a first down without a touchdown. Cassel to the end zone. almost brought down. What a leaping try by John Baldwin, the second-year wide receiver out of Pittsburgh.
Well, John Baldwin is a big guy. It's 6'4", 230. And as we can see here, he's got some ups as well as he goes up and almost makes a tremendous one-handed step. I mean, look at the coverage there by Roman Harper. I mean, he dictated because of that coverage that Cassel had to go way up to the third story with that throw, and somehow Baldwin almost made it.
Cassel's only incompletion on that drive. Ryan Sutter from 25 yards. And the Chiefs come back and get on the board. Matt Cassel went up high looking for the catch. Baldwin didn't come down with it. They settle for 3. 7-3 New Orleans. This is where you'll find Super Bowl 47 here in New Orleans, here on CBS. 7-3 Chiefs. They go 82 yards in 14 plays. And there is Darren Sproles set to receive the kick. 4:51 to play here in the first quarter. And Mr. Sproles going to get another chance to run it. And he fails to make it out to the 15-yard line. Looks like he is just shy of it. Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints coming back on offense when we come back to New Orleans. Hey, nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Don't miss Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, Steve Berline on NFL Monday QB tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Darren Sproles over on the sideline. You thought he took a shot there on the return, Dan.
Well, he did. First of all, he got hit on the head at the end of this, but then he can't break his fall, and he face plants right into the turf pretty hard. And when Darren came to the sideline, he put his hands on his knees and was bent over. That hurt a little bit, but he appears to be fine, and looks like he's getting ready to come in on a sub package when his number's called.
Mark Ingram is in the backfield to start this series. Marcus Colston on the sideline, and this is Ingram straight ahead, and not much there. You know, in talking to both these teams, they didn't really want to dwell on what's happened the first 2 weeks, and rightly so. They were concentrating on just the next time out there.
Well, it is a league about the game coming up, but you know, they're not lost. It's not lost on them where they are in terms of what they have to do and how the percentages start to get mighty small of who makes it to the playoffs after 0-2 and now looking at somebody, one of these teams, 0-3 start.
Colston and Sproles on the field for the Saints, 2nd and 10. Brees just threw that one into the ground as it looked like an attempted screen just never developed.
Well, he threw it close enough to the feet of Darren Sproles, which you're allowed to do. Sproles was his intended receiver. He was lost in that crowd. And, you know, when you're calling a screen and it gets read by the defense, like Kansas City did right there, that play is deader than dead. And a smart quarterback does exactly what Drew Brees just did. Throw it in the turf.
3rd and 10. Brees all kinds of time, gonna go deep. Got his man Devery Henderson across the 45.
Well, we talked about Devery Henderson and how his speed is such a difference for this Saints offense, and he gets behind Brandon Flowers. There's Drew Brees again. Awesome pass protection, but no safety help. Look at this. I mean, the 4 Chiefs rushers are just eradicated. No, you never see a pocket like that where Drew Brees, he must go. This looked like 7-on-7 drill in Thursday's practice.
36-yard pickup. This is Mark Ingram, and Ingram spins his way into Kansas City territory to the 47.
I'm telling you got to give some props on that last play. Streif and Evans and De La Puente and Grubbs and Bushrod. That was...
Dan, it was so wide open, he looked like he could have run for 25 yards.
That was textbook. And luckily for Brandon Flowers, he was able to grab the ankle of Devery Henderson, or we'd be looking at a 14-3 Saints lead.
Brees on the move and threw it away. That's incomplete. Let's check in for our first update of the day. James Brown and Bill Cowher. Got it.
Christian Ponder looking sharp.
How about this? The San Francisco defense, they just got 16 drop plays, 82 yards, capped with his Kyle Rudolph touchdown pass, and they were up 7-0 on San Francisco.
That an opening drive success. Back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deerdorf.
Wow.
San Francisco trailing. Are you sure, JB?
I know a lot of people thought San Francisco was lock of the day.
3rd and 6. Brees throwing, and a diving catch made inside the 30 by Lance Moore.
Stanford route. He didn't have coverage, so the best he can do is argue the fact that maybe the ball hit the ground. And Drew Brees, did he hurt his ankle on that play? Drew is hobbled a little bit. He came into it with a bad ankle. Oh, it looked like Lance Moore got his hands underneath that football. He dug that baby out of there. But Brees has a sore left ankle that he hurt last week, and he looked like he was limping after that last play.
First down at the 30. Sproles. Lost a yard, maybe 2.
Let's take a look. This is the previous play. I think, is that Tamba Ali coming in from behind? It is. Oh, and once again, you could see his whole body lands right on that ankle of Drew Brees. This is one tough guy. He may only be 6 feet tall, but he's 6'6", worth of tough.
On 2nd and 11, Brees. On the move, throws, and receiver coming back to him at the 25-yard line. And making the catch is Jimmy Graham. Once again to New York, JB.
Washington evens it up defensively.
Yeah, how about this? Ryan Kerrigan's going to come in here and hit Andy Dalton. Ill-advised swing pass to Rob Jackson of Washington. Washington ties it up, 7-7.
Ought to be a defensive boost given the injuries on that side of the ball for the Skins. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf.
James Brown, thank you very much.
That's an interception return of 0 yards for a touchdown.
3rd and 4. The Saints 3 out of 3 on 3rd down so far this afternoon. Oh, nice block allows him to get rid of the football, and diving for the first down is Jimmy Graham.
Well, Pierre Thomas, I believe, was the Saints back who picks up the corner blitz. Pierre Thomas, first of all, he's carrying the ball this year for almost a 10-yard average, but on this one he picks up a safety blitz and allows that completion to Jimmy Graham.
So a new set of downs for the Saints, and now we're going to get a whistle. And looks like a challenge from the far side of the field.
You can challenge the spot of a ball when it comes to a first down.
Don King is our referee today. And the challenge flag is sitting out there at the 33-yard line.
Kansas City is challenging the forward progress spot.
You can do that when it's in relationship to a first down. Romeo Crennel has the right to do it, and he's doing it. There goes the knee of Graham. The ball's down at that spot. We'll be taking a good look at it during this timeout.
Hey, watch Fantasy Football today to get game-time player news, inactive updates to help set your lineup and chat with our experts. Live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports, and at cbssports.com/live. Good challenge, it appears, by Romeo.
No question about it. There's the knee down for Jimmy Graham, and that ball is nowhere near the 20-yard line. It's actually back at about the 21.5. This will tell us where the ball is when his knee goes down. There goes his knee. That ball is all the way back close to the 22-yard line. And he got credit for that lunge, and Don King under the hood has got to take it away. And that knee touching the ground, remember, that was facing the Chiefs bench. Romeo Crennel saw it.
Don King with 13 years of officiating experience. Here he is.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The runner's knee was down on the 22-yard line. It'll be 4th down, 2 yards to go.
Well, maybe the terminology wasn't the greatest, but it was the right thing to do. The ball was back really close to the 22-yard line when Jimmy Graham's knee made contact with the ground.
So instead of a first down now, the Saints get a 4th and 2, and Aaron Cromer will decide whether or not his offense is clicking well enough to go for it or if he'll go for a field goal. Right now, his offensive unit is still on the field.
Well, there's a lot of confidence in this offense, obviously. When number 9 is running it, we'll see if they go ahead and run the play. Now they've got Garrett Hartley back, and he's healthy. 3 for 3 so far on the year. Their field goal kicker.
Time winding down here in the first quarter.
Hey, Paulie!
Yeah, they're not going to run a play.
And the time will expire before they get the play off. And Drew Brees looked like he might have been trying to draw the team off anyway. Well, they'll have a break to think about it. We've come to the end of one. Pretty entertaining first quarter. 7-3. We're coming back to New Orleans after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS, the home of Super Bowl 47. Back in New Orleans, Louisiana for the start of the second quarter. The Saints with the field goal unit on the field now, and Garrett Hartley will line one up from 40 yards out. He is 3 out of 3 in the field goal department so far this year, and make it 4 out of 4. New Orleans. We're coming back after this. Welcome back to the Superdome. 14:55 to play here in the first half, and the New Orleans Saints with a 10-3 lead on Kansas City. That drive for the Saints, 10 plays, 65 yards, and Hartley's 40-yard field goal. That is Javier Arenas awaiting the kick for the Chiefs. A line drive kick, and Arenas from 3 yards deep in the end zone. Across the 20 and out to about the 23, maybe the 24-yard line. And tomorrow, don't miss a Two Broke Girls season premiere shocker at its new time. Tomorrow at 9, 8 Central, only CBS. So now we see if Matt Cassel can continue to move the Kansas City offense, or has Steve Spagnuolo made a couple of adjustments on defense for the New Orleans Saints.
Well, as you see, Cassel 5 of 6 to get this game started.
What's up?
They give it to Jamal Charles, and Charles back to the line of scrimmage. Curtis Lofton, the middle linebacker, making the stop.
Well, again, Jamal Charles, when he got hurt last year in ACL in the second game of the season, so much life went out of this Kansas City offense when he went to injured reserve. He had such a spectacular season back in 2010, and it's his per carry average, over 6 yards a carry back in 10.
This is Peyton Hillis, and the former Cleveland Brown busts his way out to about the 28.
And Kansas City wanted a big bruising back to complement Jamal Charles, and that's exactly what they get in Peyton Hillis. The short yardage guy, the third, he's a good lead blocker if he has to in short yardage situations. But Peyton Hillis at 250 pounds, he does a lot of the dirty running, the tough yards inside.
Boy, Romeo Cornell says if you can get him through the line, DBs have a hard time tackling him. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can block. 3rd and 6. Cassel with time, sideline up too high, incomplete. McCluster, the intended receiver, 2 Saints defenders on him.
Well, Matt Cassel, I think, intentionally threw that high because he's throwing into double coverage. And he realizes when you're throwing to a 5'8" receiver, but you can see bracketing underneath. Now, even though Patrick Robinson didn't know where the ball was, Cassel puts it to where, you know, it's the only option he had. Good coverage that time by the Saints.
Sproles deep for the punt.
There had to be a single coverage someplace else, though. From
the 17. and corralled at about the 18-yard line. Edgar Jones with the special teams tackle. And here comes Drew Brees in that Saints offense again. That's Aaron Cromer, the offensive line coach, who is serving as interim head coach in Sean Payton's absence due to the suspension. Thought it was an interesting conversation with him, Dan. He said he was prepared to take over even before he was officially told he was taking over.
Well, yeah, because Joe Vitt was the first interim coach, and he's serving a suspension. Technically, Aaron Cromer is the interim head coach. And yes, he prepared for it.
Drew Brees on first down, going to throw far side of the field. That's complete to Pierre Thomas out of the backfield for a first down.
The thing about Aaron Cromer is, obviously he's been thrust into a difficult situation. He's very popular among the players with the Saints. He's one of the best offensive line coaches in football. And like Romeo Crennel on the other side, who's head coach and defensive coordinator, during this period, he is still the offensive line coach. So when the offense is over on the sidelines while the defense is on the field, he's working.
This is Thomas, this time on the ground, and wrapped up at about the 33. Gain of about 2 yards on the play.
The Saints are struggling in the running game with the exception of the one toss play to Darren Sproles that was good for 46 yards. Other than that, they have struggled to get anybody loose. Pierre Thomas has a couple runs for a yard. Ingram has 2 runs for 4 yards. Without that big run by Sproles, it's been a struggle on the ground early here for New Orleans.
So with the empty backfield, Brees about to go back to the air on 2nd and 9. On the blitz, and he goes down back to the 22. Derek Johnson from his inside linebacker position.
Well, Derek Johnson, their leading tackler a year ago, a Pro Bowl player, and the leader of this defense. And you can see it's a delayed blitz, and he really confused the Saints offensive line. When he first hesitated, he didn't declare himself as a rusher. They go to block somebody else, and then he takes advantage of the open gap and gets on Drew Brees.
That is only the 2nd sack of the season for this Kansas City defense, and it creates a 3rd and 19.
It really throws the blocking for a loop when a guy gives a little stutter step like that on his blitz.
Brees throwing over the middle, and that's complete to Thomas, and Thomas is wrapped up close to the 30-yard line. And that'll force the punt.
Well, Drew Brees reminds me so much of a Fran Tarkenton, not looking to run downfield, just moving around, trying to buy a little extra time. Every time Drew Brees moves, the intent is to pass. It is not to run downfield. And, God, it's got to be frustrating for a defensive lineman chasing him around.
Dustin Colquitt set to kick it away to Arenas. Oh, what a kick. And it takes a bounce into the end zone. It's a touchback. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. That's about a 70-yard kick.
I probably met Steve Sabol over 30 years ago, and in a business where egos sometimes get the better of some of us, I can tell you to the day he died, just a decent, nice man.
A good man.
You saw that shot there of the NFL Films cameramen that are at every game in the SDS there on a film strip in honor of their guy. And of course his father Ed founded NFL Films. The Sable's so instrumental in chronicling this great game that we all love. But I'm telling you something, Steve Sabol was just a nice man and a fantastic storyteller.
White 20.
2nd and 3 for Kansas City, and Cassel going to throw for it, and he's got his first down. That's to Dwayne Bowe, and Bowe out across the 35 to the 36 and a first down.
Well, Dwayne Bowe at 6'2" is a challenge for anybody. Remember when he first came in, a #1 draft pick in 07, 23rd guy taken in the draft. He didn't start really fast, and that's just a good hands catch, and then put it away. He had 61 receptions last year, but only 2 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 81 receptions and a touchdown.
Play fake over the middle. That's complete. And close to a first, that is a first down close to midfield. Once again to JB and the coach in New York.
Rookie to rookie, coach.
Yeah, how about this throw by Andrew Luck? He finds T.Y. Hilton on a rope. 6 plays, 74 yards, 7-3 Indianapolis.
Back to New Orleans. Greg Gumbel, Dan Dierdorf.
Dwayne Bowe's going to be upset. I gave Steve Breston's receiving numbers to him. He's not going to be happy. He had 81.
You'll be rewarded at Christmas, I'm sure. New set of downs at midfield for Cassel and the Chiefs. This is Peyton Hillis, and Hillis with running room right up the middle. Inside the 45 to the 41, we have a penalty marker down.
This penalty marker's back at the 47. Thrown by the umpire. Not good for the offense.
Holding. Offense, number 65. It's a 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Left guard Ryan Lilja guilty of the hold.
And Lilja's been nursing a bad back. And there was some question this week as to whether he was going to be healthy enough to play. But it takes a lot to keep an offensive lineman out of the game. Ryan Lilja.
Oh, stop.
Well, seriously. They don't have to cut. They don't have to run the cuts that receivers have to do. You can tape them up and send them out.
First and 20, and this is Charles, and Charles is going nowhere. Patrick Robinson off the corner to make the tackle. Once again, JB and Coach Cassel.
Cowboys capitalizing on a turnover.
Yeah, Sean Lee picks off Josh Freeman, and DeMarco Murray will finish off this drive 11 yards out, and Dallas ties it back up 7-7.
Good second effort maintaining his balance. Back to Greg and Dan.
All right, guys, thank you. Meanwhile, 2nd and 19 for Cassel. From the shotgun. Good protection, throwing, far side of the field. This is Jamal Charles, and he is out of bounds at the 45-yard line, so he gets all but 5 yards of it back.
And he is a tough open field tackle. You get Jamal Charles in space, and more often than not, he will make the first guy miss. And that's exactly is what happens right there. And again, it's just great effort on his part. He makes Scott Shanley miss the tackle and picks up about another 7 or 8 yards after the missed tackle.
Here's a 3rd and 5 for Cassel and the Chiefs. Steps up, throws. Incomplete inside the 30-yard line. Bo couldn't hold on to that one.
Patrick Robinson was the corner for the Saints that was going up with Dwayne Bowe. Patrick Robinson is developing into a tremendous defensive back in the NFL. Look how he goes. When you get your arm like that, right between the arms of the receiver, just like that, and then come down on the football, that makes it really tough to control for the receiver.
And so the Saints will start from their own 10. They lead it. The New Orleans Saints fans may well lead the league in outfits.
Well, I can't say they're the most passionate fans in the NFL, but I can say there are no fans more passionate than the Saints fans. That it is the game of choice in New Orleans, and my Lord, they love it.
Ingenuity is high on the list. This is Mark Ingram for about 3.
Well, the Saints offense has certainly had some big plays so far as we're working our way through the second quarter. Darren Sproles just takes this simple pitch, gets great blocking out front. He goes for 47 yards. That drive finished off with this touchdown pass to Lance Moore by Drew Brees. And then Devery Henderson gets down the middle, almost breaks it for a touchdown. That drive ended up in a Hartley field goal. And both teams moving the football here in the early going.
Brees, little pump fake, then on the sideline, tries for the back shoulder, incomplete.
Brandon Flowers he's going, if that's not offensive interference, Lance Moore gets a pretty good shove on Brandon Flowers to get some separation. Watch it when he finishes running this pattern right here. Brandon Flowers whips around, but receivers, defensive backs, with the replacement officials on the field, there's a little more freedom out there.
3rd and 7, and Sproles is in the backfield. Brees throwing, sideline, and complete. And Brees picks himself off of the turf as the punting unit comes on.
Yeah, Justin Houston was in there with pressure on Drew Brees, and that was really a throwaway by Drew Brees. This was just well done by the Kansas City defense there. That pressure was late, and Drew Brees never did find anybody to throw to, and he basically just threw that away.
Last time, Thomas Morstead kicked the ball, it went 70 yards. This one's not bad either. Arenas.
But returnable.
To the 40. Still on his feet. Midfield. Fine return all the way back to the 45 of the New Orleans Saints.
Now that punt was a line drive, Greg, and there was a lot of room after Arenas caught it.
56-yard kick and a 24-yard return sets Matt Cassel up at the New Orleans 45, and Matt Cassel will take charge of this offense again when we come back. Welcome back to New Orleans, everyone. 6:15 to play here in the first half. New Orleans with a 10-3 lead, and Drew Brees has run into a suddenly sturdy Kansas City defense. And the Chiefs with terrific field position at the Saint 45.
22 up.
Over the middle, grabbed by Bo, and Bo to the 30 and a first down.
Well, we talked about the bad place that the loser of this game goes. That would make them 0-3. Only 3 teams since 1990 have even made the playoffs, and only one of them even won a playoff game, the 92 Chargers. If you take that all the way back to 1970, I think there are only 5 teams making the playoffs after 0-3 if you go all the way back to 1970. So
we can just say it's not a good thing to do.
No, it's not a good place to be.
On first down. This is Charles. Running room on the left side, not much of it. It's maybe 3. Once again, to New York, James Brown, Bill Cowher getting paid by the word today.
Christian Ponder with his arm and his legs.
How about this 23-yard scamper right here? It's the longest run of the season given up by San Francisco. The second 80-yard drive for a touchdown, 14-3 Minnesota over San Francisco. What a shocker.
Vikings looking good early. Back to Greg and Dan.
Those young quarterbacks just don't know what they're supposed to be doing, do they?
You don't see anybody moving the ball against San Francisco.
Cassel, throw down the sideline, incomplete. Intended for Bo, covered by Patrick Robinson.
Boy, Matt Cassel had a long time to stand there, and he tried to get it to Bo so he could make a play. He found single coverage. That is unchallenged in the pocket. And here's Dwayne Bowe. He's locked up one-on-one with Patrick Robinson. Now, Robinson claims that Bowe shoved him a little bit. That's the only problem Matt Cassel had, was he kind of locked his feet with John Asamoah.
3rd and 7. Cassel will come back to this side of the field, up in the air. Batted down, incomplete inside the 5.
Oh, once that got tipped, it was certainly in play, and Curtis Lofton had a shot at it. Take a look at this, coming right at you. There's the tip, if he's not able to hold on to it.
Doesn't appear to be a secret that they're going up high with their passes today.
Well, that was a little too high, and Dwayne Bowe pays a real price for it. Look how he hits the ground, and then it goes right in between 2 players.
Ryan
so the Chiefs got lucky.
From 45 yards out. This one is on its way, and it is good. He was 0 for his last 4 from 40-plus yards. Solved that one with a 3-pointer.
No receiver appreciates that, Greg.
10-6 Saints. 4:41 to play here in the first half. We'll look at the numbers. Drew Brees with 119 yards throwing on the board. Darren Sproles with a 47-yard pickup, where his yardage came from.
Interesting with both Cassel and Brees, 14 attempts, both have 9 completions.
but their last 2 drives, the Saints have netted a total of 15. Will not run this one out of the back of the end zone. And that will start the Saints from their own 20-yard line. Drew Brees comes off a season 5,476 yards passing. It's an NFL record. 46 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. His completion percentage, Dan, 71.2%. Well, that's just unreal.
Well, it is unreal. I mean, you see quarterbacks, you say they have a good year if they have twice as many touchdowns as interceptions. Just say those numbers again. 46 touchdowns against only 14 picks.
Hey, double.
I don't know how his arm didn't fall off. 657 attempts. Oh, they got the Chiefs offside.
Brees with time. And nobody close to that one.
Well, Drew Brees, one of the best hard counts in professional football, and that's voice inflection. That really, if you're wound up as a defensive lineman, it's hard to sit there. Let's listen in on it.
Offside. Defense, number 94. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
5-9, ready. You waiting? Reset.
They credited 94. It looked like Dontari Poe was actually the defensive lineman that was in the neutral zone. That's Tyson Jackson, the defensive end. That Drew Brees has been doing that his entire career.
So it's first and 5. And on the quick slant, this is Moore for a first down out to the 35.
I mean, just take a look. Since Drew Brees came to New Orleans in 2006, look at what he has accomplished. He and Sean Payton have formed such a partnership. Third down percentage, that is a huge statistic. He leads the league. It's just, that is some resume.
This is Sproles, and Sproles with running room up the middle. And out close to another first down. Looks to be about a half-yard shy.
And nice blocking by the guys up front for New Orleans. Take a look at this. There's a start of a double team there between Grubbs and Bushrod, and then Bushrod comes off and just buries Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson looked like he got absorbed. There was no part of him even showing after Bushrod fell on him.
Ready. You ready, Bushrod?
Second and short. Mark Ingram going to go looking for the first down and gets it. Bouncing off one tackler, and then forward progress is going to be marked at about the 47 for a first down. You know, talking about Drew Brees in this, both he has embraced this community and vice versa.
Oh, well, yeah, Greg, we don't have enough time to talk about what he has meant to New Orleans through all the things that have happened here since he came to New Orleans. The storms, the oil spill, the resurrection of the Saints.
Ready. You ready, Bushrod?
Brees throws far side of the field, and that is Devery Henderson, forced out short of the 45 of the Kansas City Chiefs by Brandon Flowers.
Now Pete Carmichael is calling the plays in Sean Payton's absence, and it's Pete's 4th year in this offense. So, you know, Cromer with the offensive line, Carmichael calling the plays. There's continuity still here with this offense. But what this offense does not have is a weakness. There's strength at every position: wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback, offensive line.
Brees, deep drop this time, and under pressure, and shovels it ahead. Inside the 40 to the 39, Pierre Thomas. And a nice little move, little saving move by Drew Brees.
What do you say? I mean, seriously, you talk about awareness, creativity. Drew Brees is sandwiched in front and back, and before he touches down, Pierre Thomas gave him an outlet. Give him credit, he got up off the ground.
Which is good, because it was his guy that he missed.
Yeah, but at least he didn't stay on the ground. He got up.
And we get the 2-minute warning. So the Saints on the move at the 39 of the Kansas City Chiefs. 10-6 New Orleans. 2 minutes to play here in the first half. Hey, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report.
Easy,
You see Drew Brees has all 3 timeouts
Right,
remaining.
Everybody has timeouts remaining. It's been a pretty quick first half. Drew Brees, little screen to the near side. Pierre Thomas out of the backfield, running room up the sideline, inside the 20, inside the 15, and out of bounds at about the 12.
Well, Pierre Thomas has a reputation around the NFL as one of the best screen running backs in the National Football League. And you need patience. And he sets up his block. Look at him wait for Jermon Bushrod to do his business on the outside. I mean, take a look at that. He takes care of Belcher. And that's just great patience by Pierre Thomas, allowing his offensive lineman to do his job.
Thomas again. To about the 10. You know, as he set up that play, man, I'm wondering where's the help on defense, because that was the Lone Ranger out there for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and Bushrod has had a good game. Remember, he got a great block on the outside on that long run by Darren Sproles. The big left tackle for the Saints getting it done. Of course, he's next to their new addition in there, Ben Grubbs. Came over from Baltimore.
Second and 8. Brees throwing and caught it by the 5-yard line and going into the end zone. Thomas for the touchdown. And Drew Brees going to be one of the first to congratulate Pierre Thomas on that one.
And the question you have to ask is, how can a guy catch the ball, fall to the ground, and get up and run in the end zone? Where's the defense? Where is anybody from Kansas City? First of all, a jump pass. Does the ball touch the ground? Looks to me like Pierre Thomas is underneath. It's close. Let's take a really good look at it. Does he have control of this ball? Now, can't see from that angle. Because it is a scoring play, it's automatically reviewed upstairs, plus we're inside 2 minutes. So this is out of the coach's hands. It looks to me like he's got control of that football. Remember, that's the ruling on the field. So there has to be 100% conclusive evidence that he did not have control of that football.
And Don King is heading over to the hood as we take another look.
Let's take a good look at this. It's just almost, you know, the ball can touch the ground as long as it's in your control. Is Don King going to see enough that he can conclusively say, I can tell he doesn't have control? I mean, that's one of those situations. If it was ruled an incompletion on the field, you'd think that if you looked at that replay, it might stand, but it was ruled a completion on the field. And I'm just not sure that Don King is going to see enough to overturn it. He certainly could. I mean, I think that's as borderline as it gets.
As they say in politics, you can feel strongly both ways.
At first glance to me, it just looks like he has control of the football. The question that I can't answer, where was anyone wearing a red jersey? There's not. I mean, let's look at this from up above. I can't remember the last time I ever saw anybody that wide open. They came on a corner blitz, but a complete blow by the Kansas City secondary and linebacker group that they just didn't have any idea where Pierre Thomas was.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Graham, the tight end, going straight up the field all by his lonesome.
Oh, I guess they were all busy covering him. Not.
Well, not surprisingly, our referee Don King is spending a good amount of time under the hood reviewing this play.
I'm sure he's struggling with this. But you always have to start with the ruling on the field. And the ruling on the field was a completed pass. And we're zeroing in on it. The ball can touch as long as Pierre Thomas has control of it.
Well, here comes Don King.
I'm Not sure what he's going to say. If I was the official, I'd call it a touchdown.
After review, the previous call is reversed. The ball bounced off of the ground before the runner maintained possession. It's going to be 3rd down and 8. Clock operator, please set the clock at 1:11. 1 minute, 11 seconds.
It's only one person's opinion here, and that's Don King's. And again, we're really going to get in close on it now. See, it's hard to, you know, from that angle, it does look, you know, like maybe Pierre Thomas's hand is more in front of the football than underneath it. That might have been the best look we saw right there. I can't argue with Don King saying this.
So now it's 3rd and 7 for Brees and the Saints.
5-5-6.
Meanwhile, another play like that, Chiefs should have some defensive issues. Brees straight back with time, running out of time now under pressure, and goes down back at the 20-yard line. Justin Houston.
Well, Drew Brees, for their shortcomings in coverage on the previous play, Kansas City kind of made up for it this time around by blanketing everybody.
So now Kansas City calls a timeout.
And again, Brees just fighting for time. He doesn't realize that Houston's coming up behind him. He's able to spin away, but the time it took him to get away, everybody else closed in on him.
So let's remember this play that may well turn this game around here in the final minutes of the first half.
That last look that we saw, where we really got in tight on it, you can see what Don King was looking at, that it looked like Pierre Thomas's hand was more in front than underneath.
That's Derek Johnson, the linebacker for the Chiefs, limping off the field here with 52 seconds to play.
And that is their leading tackler, the guy that calls the defense, and everything revolves around Derek Johnson.
Garrett Hartley was good from 40 yards out earlier. This is a 38-yard attempt. And it is on its way, and it's no good. He missed it. So that does indeed become a big play and a big call.
Well, Garrett Hartley hadn't missed a field goal this year, coming back from the hip surgery that he had last year, and he just pushed that one, and that was wide right, but not by much.
So what a turnaround for the Kansas City Chiefs here in the last minute of the first half.
Well, they end up with just a terrible error in their coverage, and they end up not paying a price for it.
Goes from a touchdown to no points on the board at all, and this is Sean Drone making his first appearance of the day. First year back out of North Carolina. And a timeout stops the clock with 41 seconds to play. And the Chiefs are down to 1 timeout. Gives us a chance to remind you once again, the Verizon halftime report upcoming. JV, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and the coach have all the latest NFL scores, highlights, upsets blooming around the NFL coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
Yeah, no kidding. That's going to be an interesting report. There are a lot of wacky things happening around the league.
Well, like I like to say, Dan, you just can't trust anybody around the NFL.
Now it's the old saying, they're on scholarship too. There's an entire litany of cliches describing the lesser team on paper rising up and winning.
2nd and 5. Matt Cassel, see if he can put some points on the board here in the final seconds of the first half. Running out of time, penalty marker flies as he goes down. Junior Gillette with the sack, and now let's check the flag.
And again, that was thrown by the umpire.
Holding. Offense number 65. That penalty will be declined. The result of the play brings up a 3rd down.
Ryan Lilja guilty of his second hold of the day.
I think he was working against Will Smith. I think that's Will Smith, number 91, who gets kind of dragged to the ground. Yeah. Yeah, that's Will Smith, the Saints' best defensive lineman. Off to a little bit of a slow start, and again, one of the players that was going to be suspended and still might, who knows. He had his meeting with the commissioner, and no ruling yet from the league office as to how many, if any, games Will Smith will miss.
3rd and 12. Screen to Jamal Charles with Blotler, and he gets a first down and more. Out across the 45-yard line. Clock continues to move.
Kansas City hustling things up. They still have one timeout left.
And Cassel spikes the ball and stops the clock with 16 seconds to play.
Right, and they'd like to use that last timeout if they get a completion in field goal range where they could stop it and set up Ryan Succop.
Well, give these Chiefs credit. They came in here, and this is not the easiest place to play if you're a visitor.
Oh, well, it's the double whammy. You not only have to deal with the crowd, but the team on the other sideline is pretty darn good. Forget that 0-2 start.
Cassel steps up, throwing to the far side, and that's Sean Brome out of bounds and stops the clock at 45-yard line. 7 seconds to play.
If Romeo Crennel, he's working to get some points here before halftime. If you'd have said to him coming into this game, you could hold the Saints to 10 points in the first half, he'd have said, sign me up.
So the Chiefs used their 3rd and final timeout with 7 seconds remaining here in the first half.
Well, the field goal attempt from here would be 63, 64 yards. That is a long way, but as we all know, that's in the range of the NFL record.
Ryan Succop's last 4 field goals from 50-plus yards, he's hit. But he's going to stay on the sideline. Matt Cassel is back on the field. So it'll be Hail Mary time. And the play clock is down to 5. And Cassel will heave this one away. Hit from behind. Loose ball. Junior Gillette from behind. And that'll end the first half. So Cassel never got a chance to get it away.
Well, what I don't understand, he didn't even have a receiver in the end zone. Whatever he was going to attempt, it was going to be something shorter and hope that somebody was able to run it in.
We come to the end of the first half, and although both teams moved it up and down the field very well.
I thought there was still a couple seconds on the clock when he hit the ground, but
10-6. Saints in the lead. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message.
In New Orleans. Drop me off. Oh, in New Orleans. Tell them drop me off in New Orleans.
We're getting set for the start of the second half. The Saints with a 10-6 lead on Kansas City. Let's have a look at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam, Dan.
Well, after a good drive all the way downfield, the opening drive of the game, Drew Brees behind great blocking, finds Lance Moore in the end zone for the touchdown that gives the Saints at the time a 7-0 lead.
Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf back in New Orleans. So much for studious preparation. We expected no defense, tons of offense, only 1 touchdown on the board, and the defenses have held up so far.
Again, I mentioned it right at the end of the first half. I think Kansas City holding Drew Brees and this high-powered Saints offense to 10 points. Yeah, I know you're trailing, but still, that's something to feel good about. And Kansas City gets the ball to start the second half. So let's see if they can come out with a little momentum. They're moving the ball themselves.
And let's not forget the touchdown that was overturned towards the end of the first half. Otherwise, the Saints would have 7 more points on the board.
That's exactly right. Don King, the referee. And you see what he saw. Pierre Thomas, a great effort to try to corral it one-handed. And then, of course, they miss a field goal.
And the Chiefs will get the football here to start off the second half. Sean Throne is deep to return the kick, and he will run it out of the end zone. And will only get to about the 16-yard line. Check the first half numbers.
Well, you can see, look at that. They only one play difference, 32 plays for Kansas City, 31 for New Orleans. First downs are equal. New Orleans has a bit of an edge in yards, but both teams are moving the ball. But just what Greg had mentioned, New Orleans, the only team so far to find the end zone with that Brees to Moore touchdown pass.
And Matt Cassel and company, who came into town in the same condition the Saints were, looking for a win, needing a win. If you've got any designs on the postseason. Jamal Charles in the backfield to start things off. Cassel to throw, sideline, and that is caught by McCluster. And he whistled down.
McCluster hurt himself when he landed. He hurt himself. He did something to his left arm or elbow. Oh. He has to really elevate for that football.
Ooh.
And it looked like his elbow. Looked like he hyperextended that elbow. What an effort.
And, you know, he wasn't touched down. This will be interesting. He was not touched down before. Before he let that ball go.
But a player can voluntarily give himself up. And that is what Dexter McCluster is doing right there. He gave himself up.
Well, the officials are huddling at the 15-yard line.
I believe by rule, when a player gives himself up and goes to the ground, and when McCluster went to the ground, he had possession of the football, and then he gave it up.
And McCluster is going to be helped off the field.
It got started by Matt Cassel throwing. Dexter McCluster was wide open, and Cassel threw him a football that he really had to leave his feet to catch. And that started everything in motion.
And Aaron Cromer has thrown the challenge flag on this play.
And you could see the elbow of Dexter McCluster really gave way. Don King, the referee, is calling for an official timeout.
He's going to come to the sideline, find out what Aaron Cromer wants, although we've got a pretty good idea. We'll take a break and come right back. New Orleans, this is the play that is now under review.
Well, Don King said it's under review as to whether he was down by contact. Well, obviously he's not down by contact. No one from New Orleans touches Dexter McCluster till after he's already surrendered the football. The question here is, does the play end because Dexter McCluster gave himself up? He is not attempting to get up. He's got control of the football. He's declaring himself down, and he gives up the football. And I'm not even sure that that's reviewable because the ruling on they didn't rule a touchdown on the field.
Well, guess what? They just reviewed it, and Don King is on his way back to give us the announcement.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The receiver had possession of the ball, lost possession down on the ground. New Orleans picked up the ball. The whistle was blown. By rule, New Orleans has the ball, 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line. Clock operator, please set the clock to 14:51. 14:51.
Well, let's go back to the play and listen to it and watch it real time.
Well, you hear the whistles blowing. We can clearly hear the whistles blowing.
Now, you could argue with his terminology. He said the receiver lost possession of the ball. He gave up possession.
Yeah, I have always been under the impression that a player can voluntarily give himself up by going to the ground and declaring himself as not attempting to advance the ball, and that player is protected. So the question is, when does the play end?
And whether or not and obviously the injury contributed to McCluster's decision to give the football up.
I mean, obviously Dexter McCluster was in such pain that holding on to that football any longer was no longer a priority.
Well, it's been explained to Romeo Crennel. And it's the big opportunity here for the Saints early in the second half. First down at the Kansas City 19. And a truly unfortunate injury to Dexter McCluster.
Ready! Ready, push it!
Brees with time. Incomplete. Intended for Pierre Thomas, and Justin Houston was right there.
Whoa. Yes, you could say he was right there.
I did say he was right there. 2nd and 10.
He was in his proverbial back pocket.
Holston and Henderson flank to the right, to the top of your screen.
Ready, push it!
Brees, little pump fake, throwing, tough, no, out of bounds, short of the goal line.
Oh, they're ruling Lance Moore at the 2-inch line. Look at this back shoulder throw from Drew Brees. Oh, Lance Moore's out of bounds. Lance Moore did not get both feet in bounds.
There's the right foot. And the challenge flag is on the field from the Kansas City side.
One in, the second one, the second one, he does touch the pylon. Now this is going to be interesting because the pylon's in bounds. Does he touch the pylon before he goes out?
Wow. Simultaneous.
You know what? His instep might hit the pylon first. Ooh, I think it does.
Kansas City is challenging the ruling on the field that the player possessed the ball before going out of bounds.
Boy, there's so many things to look at here. Did he have complete control of the football, the feet? The pylon is in the field of play. The pylon is on the goal line.
And so the question for Don King as he goes under the hood is, did the contact with the pylon come before the foot lands out of bounds?
Whoa. They almost appear to be simultaneous. The instep and the toe out of bounds appear to almost happen.
I think he hit the pylon first. Well, and now I'm changing my mind.
Well, they gave him, again, we're back to in any replay, you start with the original call, and they gave Lance Moore the completion.
Meanwhile, this has turned into the Challenge and Review Bowl.
And does he maintain possession all the way through? He's got to hit the ground, hold on to it. When you don't land in the field of play, you got to maintain control of the ball.
And he appears to have done that.
He satisfied everything in terms of the hands and control of the football. This is all going to come down to whether or not he gets credit for touching the pylon first, we're going deep into the rule book here to determine whether or not touching that pylon constitutes getting your foot entirely in the field of play.
Here's Don King.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The receiver's left foot stepped out of bounds. Incomplete pass, third down.
Again, you can't argue with Don King's ruling.
Kansas City will not be charged with a timeout.
You just can't argue with it. There's no question that foot ends up out of bounds. It's just that it makes contact with the pylon on its way out of bounds.
Dan, can you recall a game like this where we've had 3 coaches' challenges and a booth review and 4 reversals?
Well, and not in such a condensed period of time.
3rd and 10.
We're attempting to get this second half started.
We're half a minute into the 3rd quarter.
Young lady. Hey. Ready. 20, before shot.
Brees. A bullet inside the 10 to the 6. It'll be 1st and goal. Marcus Colston on the receiving end.
And there's Marcus Colston doing what he does so well, working between the numbers with that big 6-foot, 4-inch body of his, shielding the defender away from the football.
Boy, how about that delivery by Drew Brees?
Well, down where only Colston could go get it, and go get it he did. And what do you know? No question as to whether or not he caught it.
Young lady. Ready. Blue 90, bless that.
Pierre Thomas in the backfield going to get the handoff straight ahead. Picking his way to the 3, to the 2, to the 1.
Well, there's some old-fashioned power football. Take a look at this. There comes David Thomas, the tight end. He comes across with a trap right in behind Ben Grubbs, and then Pierre Thomas just won't go down. He stays upright and even backwards, just kind of pushing himself, willing himself closer to the goal line.
2nd and goal from the 1. Brees, spread out, throw, touchdown to Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham lost the football on the way to do his dunk over the crossbar. You know, I know that's a very short pass for a touchdown, but there's a lot of precision required to deliver an accurate football where Drew Brees did, to allow Jimmy Graham to just catch that ball and immediately whip his shoulders towards the goal line and get a little momentum into the end zone.
3rd touchdown catch of the season for Jimmy Graham.
That's a route that is extremely difficult to defend.
The extra point is good. Drew Brees, his 2nd TD pass of the day. Jimmy Graham, it wasn't, the drive to the basket wasn't great, but the dunk is the same. 17-6, New Orleans. The King is in the house. 17-6, New Orleans, 13-10 to play here in the 3rd quarter.
The Chiefs not only lost a player in McCluster, they lost the ruling there. I still believe he gave himself up, and I think Kansas City should have retained possession of that football, but the Saints add to their lead. And how about that? Jimmy Graham.
He's going to be a force for a while. Chiefs will not run this one out of the end zone. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. It'll be 1st and...
They'll chase Daniel, the backup quarterback on the left. Drew Brees in the middle. Pete Carmichael on the right. There's the quarterback brain trust of the Saints looking at their 7-point drive.
This is Jamal Charles with running room. and he pulls his way out to about the 29-yard line, be about a yard or two short of the first down. We'll see where they spot it. Roman Harper, Scott Shanley making the stop.
Well, again, Kansas City's offense, even though they've only got 6 points to show for it, should have some level of confidence. They've moved the ball pretty effectively against the Saints. Obviously, they haven't gotten it into the end zone yet, but their game plan is sound. They ought to stick with it.
Charles for the first down. We get another update from New York. Let's go back to our studios. James Brown, Coach Collins.
All right, Coach, take it away.
How about LaRon Landry? Great offseason pickup, safety from Washington. He's going to pick off Tannehill here and take it 18 yards, tie it up 10-10. The Jets get it back, but Mark Sanchez throws an interception in the end zone, so Miami has the ball, go 10-10 early in the third.
Not a good game by Sanchez. Back to Greg and Dan.
All right, thank you, guys. Meanwhile, Jamal Charles out to about the 38, maybe the 39-yard line.
Well, you know, Jamal Charles, one of the things you got to love about this guy is, I remember when he was a rookie, and you're going, well, this is an edge player. This is a perimeter player. This is a guy you want to get out in space. But you know what? He'll take it between the tackles, and he'll lower his shoulder, and he'll take on a linebacker. And he's a complete football player.
What's up?
Charles, left side, waits for his block, and has the first down. Once again, JB, Coach Coward in New York.
Vernon Davis is pretty good talent, huh, Coach?
Yeah, he's a pretty good tight end, JB. Off the play action right here, Alex Smith, nice throw, 9 plays, 86 yards, and San Francisco getting back in this game, 17-13.
Alex Smith, 19 of 25, 158 yards, 1 touch. Efficient game. Back to Greg and Dan.
All right, JB, thank you very much. Meanwhile, first down, Kansas City at their own 44.
120. What's up?
And this is Peyton Hillis. And Curtis Lofton fill that hole nicely.
Curtis Lofton, who's playing in the middle in place of Jonathan Vilma, who is on the physically unable to perform list. He started all 16 games in Atlanta last year, really a key free agent signing for the Saints, who did it with David Hawthorne at the outside linebacker position, getting him to come over from the Seahawks, where he was their leading tackler for the last 3 years. A nice linebacker free agent signings for the Saints.
Cassel on 2nd and 8. And that one was thrown behind Peyton Hillis.
And Hillis hurt himself. Hillis tweaked something. He drops the helmet and heads right for the bench.
Looked awkward turning for the ball.
And that ball ends up getting kicked by his heel. He's twisting around.
So he takes a seat on the bench. It's 3rd and 8.
Can't tell what it was, but he didn't like it.
Play clock winding down to 2 to 1. They got the snap off. Cassel throws this side, and it is complete to Drone. And Drone is buried just across midfield, about 4 yards short of a first down.
Well, he was going to make a move, and he couldn't get away from Patrick Robinson.
And we have a player down on the field. That's the center, Rodney Hudson.
Oh, and he appears to really be in pain. He was their 2nd-round pick a year ago and has really settled in nicely at the center position.
They will take a look at him. We will take a break with 10:07 to play in the third. Hey, celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month at the NFL. Visit NFL.com/Espanol, official Spanish language home of the NFL, for game highlights, fantasy football, and a first look at your team's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. Hudson limped off the field. And
meanwhile, Mr. Big Play waiting to happen, Darren Sproles back at the 10.
This one off the side of the foot falls way short of its destination on the near side.
That is a certified shank from Colquitt.
We were talking about Hispanic Heritage Month in the NFL. This is how it sounded in Spanish on WFNO radio, the Spanish language flagship. Marco Garcia and Victor Quiñones on the call.
Aquí va a intentar Drew Brees, va a buscar abierto. Touchdown, Robert Johnson.
Man, and I get stuck with you after.
Meanwhile, Ryan Suckup just got off a bad punt in any language. 24 yards.
Greg, I want some theatrics out of you. Come on.
Ready.
And it sets up Drew Brees at his own 25-yard line. This is Sproles, left side, cuts it back, and the marker flies as he is out to the 35.
Holding. Offense number 15. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
That's Courtney Roby, a wide receiver, got caught on the outside.
I mean, he was the wide receiver to that side. Sproles cut right off of his block. Aaron Cromer, the interim head coach, not too happy about it.
First penalty of the day on the Saints.
Roby almost jumped out of he did about a 4-foot vertical jump when he saw that flag fly.
So it's 1st and 20 from the 19.
Hold on. Mike 2-9.
A single deep safety for the Chiefs. You can see them all up there close to the line.
Brees, far side of the field, and Devery Henderson made the grab and was hit immediately.
How the heck did he catch that thing?
Brandon Flowers made the hit.
I mean, there was good, solid coverage, but look at him go back behind and grab that football. Man, that
ball hit the helmet of Justin Houston on its way out.
And then somehow Henderson's able to react to the deflected pass.
Brees rolling, and that's complete to Jimmy Graham, short of the 30.
But here's the patience of Drew Brees. Complete a couple short passes, and even though it still brings up a 3rd down, you are much more manageable now because you had the patience to just nibble away at it and bring up a 3rd and 6.
So from the 29-yard line, he needs the 35 for a first down.
Special. 22 pace special. Mike 2-9. 2-9. Ready. Mike 5-6. Mike 5-6. Ready. You ready? Like that.
Brees down the middle. Got his man and incomplete.
Drew Brees did his part. He put it right onto the hands of Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham telling us, I know my days of running down the seam by myself are over with. He had to deal with a little bit of a block in front of him. He couldn't see over Derek Johnson very well, but Drew Brees threw a tremendous pass. But Jimmy Graham is going to get double coverage most everywhere he goes.
Javier Arenas is deep for the punt. And this one takes a Saints bounce. He's going to roll inside the 20 and down at about the 15 or the 16-yard line. 7:58 to play, 3rd quarter. New Orleans, 17-6 lead. The mighty Mississippi. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are still very much in this football game, but the fact is that since that opening drive, they haven't done very much offensively. And they start now from their own 16-yard line.
Set. White 20. White up.
Cassel to throw. Near side, that's complete to the tight end, Steve Maneri.
Matt Cassel, by and large, has been enjoying pretty decent pass protection. He did get hit and fumbled on the last play of the first half, which was really not very meanful. But he's enjoyed some decent pocket protection for most of this game.
Omaha, set.
First down, this is Charles. And Charles is dragged down at about the 28.
Remember, Matt broke his hand last year in the Denver game in early November and missed the rest of the season. And boy, it's a long off season, waiting and waiting to get a chance to get back out on the field.
Really upbeat when we talked to him last night, and upbeat about the Chiefs' chances this season.
Well, Romeo Crennel is keeping this team together. He was a popular choice to get the permanent position of head coach. Greg Johnson said everybody in our locker room bought into that.
And with the play clock winding down, that's a false start. Looked like the left tackle, Brandon Albert.
False start, offense, number 76, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, Brandon Albert, he can see the play clock from his tackle position. That is he right there. And he just comes out of their way early. Part of the problem was that they just got too close to double zeros on the play clock.
Yep, so now it's 2nd and 12. And they did not reset the play clock, and they do that now. 2nd and 12. Play fake to Charles. Cassel. Intercepted. Picked off by Jabari Greer. Inside the 10. It'll be 1st and goal for the Saints.
Oh, you could see that coming. Matt Cassel's eyes, I think, took Jabari Greer right to the football. He didn't have the primary coverage, and he undercuts it and jumps right in front of it.
That is the first interception of the season for the New Orleans Saints defense.
Matt Cassel looking that way, and you can see Jabari Greer. And he just steps in front of Steve Preston. And that was, the primary coverage appeared to be Corey White, and Greer just totally fooled Cassel.
Mark Ingram. To about the 6.
Well, now Kansas City's defense is really up against it now. 6 minutes left in the third quarter, and they are looking at a football game that's on the verge of getting away from them.
We were talking with Aaron Cromer about the lack of interceptions so far this season. He says we've been a half step behind on defense so far this year.
5-9.
2nd and goal.
Yellow weighty. Easy. Kill. K4. Ready. You ready? Play set.
To Jed Collins for the touchdown.
Well, Jed Collins not an integral part of this Saints passing game, to say the very least.
How about his first reception of the year?
Yeah. And again, it's a good strike from Brees, and Javon Belcher, the linebacker, just not able to. Almost looked like he was trying to pull the football away and ended up getting nothing. And Collins just falls into the end zone, and that interception by Matt Cassel quickly is converted into a Saints touchdown.
Extra point is good as we come up on 5.5 to play in the third. Saints have given themselves a little breathing room at 24-6. Welcome back to New Orleans.
You got to give a guy credit for even putting in the contact lenses, and it was worth it. He just saw himself on the big screen. Well, right now,
5:36 to play.
Right now, Greg, it's not rocket science for the Chiefs offense. Knowing what they got to do, New Orleans knows that they got to somehow try to make something happen here, throwing the football.
Sean Drone on the run from the end zone. upended before he reached the 10-yard line. Great kick coverage by the New Orleans Saints. Hey, remind you, coming up next, Matt Schaub and the Houston Texans, Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, or Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, Carson Palmer and the Oakland Raiders. Check your local listings for the game near you. I know, Dan, you and I are very much in agreement about a Houston Texans team that, had it not lost Matt Schaub late in the season last year, might very well have been the Super Bowl representative for the AFC.
Wade Phillips had that defense playing great football, and they continue to play it all season.
This is Charles, left side, running room, on his way, up the sideline. Can he outrun the defense? He is on his way and gone. No flags on the field.
Well, I mentioned about Kansas City's got to do something, especially throwing the football. And what do? They hand the ball off on a simple little sweep to the left side. And it's the New Orleans defense just went to sleep. And in a foot race, Jamal Charles is going to win.
91 yards for Jamal Charles.
And he is gassed.
That's a career best for him. His first touchdown of the season.
That gives him 155 yards on the day, but 91 yards at a clip will do it. That'll pad your average.
Ryan suck up for the extra point. And it is good. And just like that, Kansas City jumps right back into the picture, 24-13. You know, Jamal Charles is capable of plays like this. This is week 1 in the loss to the Atlanta Falcons. He went 46 yards. Didn't score a touchdown here, but he has breakaway speed and big play ability. And then today, look what he does. He gashes the New Orleans defense and puts his Chiefs right back into the football game.
You almost got the sense that the New Orleans defense is just thinking pass, pass, pass. All we have to do the rest of this game is rush the passer. And Kansas City threw a real tendency breaker at him. Great call by Brian Dable. Of course, all calls that go for 91 yards and a touchdown are great calls.
We are told that 91-yard run is the longest in franchise history.
Now that's a surprise with all the great backs that have been running the ball for the Chiefs over the years. Well, do you think Drew Brees is rattled? I think there's just a grim determination now by number 9 to put together a good, solid drive.
The field spinning across the 20 and down at about the 29-yard line. Let's check into New York now. JB and Coach Bill Cowher. That was 49ers.
No mistake in this score, Coach.
Yeah, and Christian Ponder is making me a believer. His second touchdown pass there to Kyle Randolph, 12 plays, 86 yards. They're going to go up 24-13 in the fourth quarter. Christian Ponder is supplanting himself as the quarterback in Minnesota.
No Viking turnovers, and the quarterback has not been sacked. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deardorff.
What did I say earlier, Dan? You just can't trust anybody around the NFL.
Well, hey, kudos to the Vikings.
Ball start, offense, number 89, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Penalty is on Daniel Graham, number 89.
And for that penalty, his reward is a trip to the sidelines. Daniel's in there for blocking. He's
not anymore.
He's had a really good career in this league, but puts him in a bit of a hole.
First and 15, pass to the sideline, and that is caught at about the 31 by Devery Henderson. Cincinnati and Washington doing battle once again. JB and the coach.
Greg, Skins have battled back.
Well, 17 unanswered points. Santana Moss catches his pass from RG3, 24-24 in Washington.
4 seconds left in the third. Back to Greg and Dan.
5-9, 5-9.
All right, guys, thank you. Meanwhile, under 5 minutes to play here in the third.
What's that?
This is Pierre Thomas. Thomas tripped up as he crossed the 30 out to about the 34-yard line. So that'll be a 3rd and 6.
This will be very interesting if the Chiefs can force a New Orleans punt here. This will get very interesting with the momentum they've got from that last touchdown run by Charles. Do they come after Brees or not? Got a lot of folks up on the line.
Brees with time. Gonna go deep down the side and it's caught inside the 35 by Lance Moore.
Well, Drew Brees had the time to find the single coverage he was looking for, and that's Lance Moore and Javier Arenas. Again, look at him buy time. Awesome pass blocking. He looks off the safeties, gets them over in the determines they're in the middle of the field. Tamba Hali trying to fight through a double team, but Drew Brees in the rocking chair delivers a strike to Lance Moore. Awesome pass protection by the guys up front.
Drew Brees with 20 receptions, 39 straight games doing that, extending an NFL record that he owns. And this is Darren Sproles being racked up.
Well, the Chiefs have gotten to Drew Brees a couple times today. They only had 1 sack to their credit coming in here in the first 2 games. So they've got a total of 3 sacks. But, you know, pressures are important. Hits, knockdowns are important. But when you allow a guy like Drew Brees that time to just stand there totally uncontested in the pocket, you're going to pay for it.
Mike 5-9. Ready. You ready for shot?
Now on 2nd and 7, Brees steps up, gonna go down the sideline, and he is intercepted. Picked off by Stanford Rout, and Rout works his way back to the 15, 25, across the 30, down to the 32-yard line.
Well, Drew Brees is a tremendous quarterback, but that was a bad decision and an even worse throw.
The first takeaway of this season for the Kansas City defense. Couldn't come at a better time.
No, Stanford Rout has tremendous coverage. I mean, he is just hip for hip. And I don't know where Drew Brees thought he was going to try to get this ball into Devery Henderson, but it came up short. The coverage was there, and that was really a very easy interception for Stanford Rout.
Long time coming, that first takeaway. Ryan Lilja now at center for the Chiefs. Cassel on the roll and throws it away. It'll be 2nd and 10. Ryan Lilja started this game at left guard. Rodney Hudson was injured a few minutes back, and Lilja has moved over to center. And it looks like Jeff Allen has moved in at left guard.
The rookie, the 2nd-round draft pick from Illinois, is in at left guard. He was a tackle in college, but he's being switched to guard for the Chiefs.
This is Charles. To the 35. And Cassel now looking at a 3rd and about 7.
And anytime you have to switch out the center because of that injury to Hudson, everything comes into play that you normally take for granted. The hand-to-hand snap, the shotgun snap, the protection calls at the line of scrimmage. Now, luckily, Ryan Lilja is a real veteran, a 9-year guy, but it's still an unwelcome change.
Well, here's a big play for the offense for the Kansas City Chiefs if they want to continue to make some noise in this game. Cassel throws, and that is complete for a first down to Dwayne Bowe, the reliable wide receiver. And what a big target.
Yeah, what a big target. And again, he realizes he's got that cushion, and he's being given all sorts of room by Patrick Robinson. So that is really a pretty simple little, just pitch and catch between Matt Cassel and Dwayne Bowe. And that's Bowe's what's he got so far today? That's his 4th catch, 46 yards.
First down, Kansas City. They're only 47 as we approach 1 minute to play here in the third. Charles. And Charles breaks free. There goes Jamal Charles trying to cut back. He's down inside the 15-yard line. Malcolm Jenkins saved the touchdown at the 13.
Boy, and once again, these fans in New Orleans are watching their defense unable to protect the lead. And look at that tremendous hole off the right side. Look at that, Eric Winston. John Asamoah gets a tremendous block from the right guard position. Got that nice seal, the nice alley, and away they go. And Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, cannot be happy by watching this defensive collapse.
Sean Drone can't shake tacklers in the backfield and loses yardage. Forward progress will be marked at the 17.
Well, that's what Steve Spagnuolo wants to see from this defense. Play with a little anger, a little passion.
And we have come to the end of the third. 24-13 Saints. Back after this message and a word from your local stations, along with our producer Mark Wolf and our director Bob Fishman and our terrific CBS Sports crew, Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, as we start the fourth. New Orleans with a 24-13 lead, but Kansas City knocking on the door at the New Orleans 17. Jamal Charles back into the backfield with 199 yards rushing on the day. Cassel. Screen. Charles cuts it back to the 11.
The New Orleans Saints came into this game being last in the league in run defense at giving up 186 yards a game. And you're going, 186 yards a game? How is that possible? And then through 3 quarters today, they give up 216.
Jamal Charles, 199 by himself.
To say that the Saints defense hasn't quite figured out what Steve Spagnuolo wants them to do to stop the run would be an understatement.
3rd and 8. Cassel under pressure and goes down. Will Smith.
Well, finally, with a 4-man pass rush, you can see that it's just a good, effective job of collapsing the pocket, and Will Smith gets a chance to put Cassel on the ground. And this defense is looking for anything positive on which to hang a hat.
Suckup now from 34 yards out. He's been good from 25 and from 45. On its way and perfect. 13 minutes, 40 seconds to play in regulation. 24-16 Saints. 13 minutes, 40 seconds to play here in the fourth quarter. Saints with an 8-point lead. And Darren Sproles. Down at about the 20-yard line. A Saturday, the Home Depot SEC on CBS rocks. Tyler Bray and the Tennessee Volunteers go down between the hedges against Aaron Murray and the unbeaten Georgia Bulldogs. The hoopla begins with college football today.
When we were visiting with interim head coach Aaron Cromer, he said something interesting. He said, since I've been here, we have always put the pressure on the offense in this organization. Well, the pressure's on them now. Given the way that their defense has been getting wounded here lately, a long drive by the Saints offense would be very welcome to Spagnuolo's outfit.
And he said as long as we keep pass-run balance, we're okay, but you can see they've thrown the ball twice as much as they've run it, which is their nature.
Well, Drew Brees was averaging 50 throws a game coming in here. 101 attempts in the first 2 games.
Ready. No, baby. Ready.
2nd and 8. Brees on the move, looking and throws it away. Justin Houston played himself a pretty good football game, applying the pressure.
Yep, Tamba Lee was in there as well. But again, it's Drew Brees, and he's so instinctive rather, in terms of look, he knows where to go. He feels that he's got that void over there to his right, and then he makes a smart move at the end. He's outside the pocket. Just get rid of it. Get it back anywhere near the line, and you're okay.
3rd and 8. Again, another big stop looming here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Brees gonna loft it to the near sideline and overthrows everybody. Jimmy Graham was the intended receiver.
Well, that's just a throwaway. Jimmy Graham was extremely well covered, and that ball didn't get away from Drew Brees. He had nowhere to go with it, so he just threw it over everybody's head. Very effective defensive series for Kansas City.
Javier Arenas back inside his own 20-yard line. Morstad gets away a pretty good kick. Sails out of bounds on the far side of the field, and let's see where they end up spotting it. Wherever they end up spotting it, Kansas City Chiefs in need of a touchdown and then 2 points to pull into a tie. And Romeo's guys do it. Back in New Orleans, 12:43 to play here in the 4th quarter. Matt Cassel and the Chiefs very much in this game from their own 30-yard line.
And plenty of time. You go with your original game plan. You don't have to change a thing.
And that means Jamal Charles straight up the middle, across the 40, out close to the 45, and a first down. And he's up over 200 yards for the day. 5th 200-yard rushing game in franchise history.
Well, the Saints, first of all, look at that hole in the middle. What a tremendous job. Look at Ryan Lilja, moving over from guard to center, and then Asamoah just crushes Cedric Ellis and puts him on his back. Tremendous blocking by the guys up front.
Charles to the right side.
Charles looked like he got his feet tangled up with Matt Cassel. Right about now, Jamal Charles has got to be a little fatigued.
With a 259-yard gain, he holds the Kansas City franchise record for rushing.
And he's a little gassed.
What do they say?
That's a sure sign of it.
What do they say? You can rest on the way home? 2nd and 7.
Right now he's resting on the sideline.
Cassel. Over the middle, up high, and going up to get it. Making the catch is Baldwin, number 89.
Well, John Baldwin, their number 1 pick last year, is 6'4", and when this ball is thrown this high, he is the only guy back there capable of going up and getting it. That was behind him and high. I'm telling you, Matt Cassel's receivers are going up and after some passes that aren't exactly right where they'd like them to be. That was well done by the second-year guy.
Chiefs have put the last 10 points on the board in this game. A touchdown and a field goal. Cassel drops, sideline, got his man, open and overthrew it. Dwayne Bowe had a little separation on the defense.
Patrick Robinson there, number 21. He was the corner on coverage. He led the team in interceptions last year with only 4. Not that 4 is bad, but normally somebody who leads a team has more than 4. But he's a heck of a football player.
Charles back on the field. 2nd and 10. Charles with the handoff, looking for running room, and dragged down at about the 41. Cameron Jordan with the tackle. And 2 coaches in this game doing double duty here. Cromer as head coach and an offensive line coach, and Romeo Cornell doubling as defensive coordinator along with head coaching duties.
Now the difference is Aaron Cromer's just the interim coach and is only going to do it until Joe Vitt returns. Romeo's doing it for the foreseeable future, as in, at the very least, all this year.
3rd and 9. going far side, and it is incomplete.
Is there no flag?
Oh, there.
Okay. There was a full-blown tackle by Patrick Robinson. He didn't get the guy to the ground, but watch this. Dwayne Bowe coming up right there. And then
interference, defense, number 21. Spot foul, automatic first down.
I love the hands in the air afterwards by Patrick Robinson. Who, me?
Yeah. Who's that flag on?
You going to believe me or your lying eyes?
Third red zone trip for the Chiefs. 2 previous trips have resulted in field goal. First down at the 15.
58's the mic, 58.
And movement on the left side.
Now, if there's any positive, Greg, in what Patrick Robinson did, he might have saved the touchdown.
Offense, number 76. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Even though he got flagged for the interference, he might have saved the touchdown because he was beaten pretty badly by Bowe.
Brandon Albert called for the false start. So now it's 1st and 15. Sean Drone, rather, in the backfield. And Drone gets the handoff and straight ahead, and he gets those 5 yards back. Clock continues to move. 9:50 to play here in the 4th quarter.
Well, you got to give Kansas City credit. They were down and almost out, and Brian Dable, they're the offensive coordinator, with the help of some big plays from Jamal Charles. The Chiefs are showing some real fight here and trying to scratch their way back into this game. And as we mentioned, a touchdown and a 2-pointer from a tie ball game.
Cassel, play fake, under pressure, got rid of it, incomplete. He was buried in the backfield by Will Smith.
And Will Smith was the only New Orleans Saints player that was able to get some pressure on Matt Cassel, and good thing he did because he single-handedly ruined that play.
3rd and 10.
The prospect of going 0-3 is looming large over both these teams.
And we're going to get a timeout. Kansas City calls time, stops the clock with 9:21 to play. They're going to talk about a huge 3rd and 10 right here. 9:21 to play in the 4th. 3rd and 10 for Kansas City. Cassel throwing. Incomplete. And we have a false start. A penalty flag is down on the far side of the field.
False start. Offense, number 74. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
That's Eric Winston on the right side, and Will Smith slow getting up.
Looks like they're looking at his right eye. A face mask can protect you from only so much. Be surprised how many times a finger gets through there and pokes you in the eye. Well, that's when the false start is called right before the snap of the ball like that, like it was that time on Eric Winston. The players, very few of them heard that whistle.
Dan, we talked with the Chiefs, and all teams practice in noisy situations, but they can see this is one of the noisier places to play.
Well, you get a dome stadium like this, passionate fans, they're going to crank it up. Let's listen.
Cassel down the middle, incomplete.
Oh, Matt Cassel's lucky that didn't get intercepted by Roman Harper. There was a lot of New Orleans Saints defenders in the middle of this end zone. He's going to try to go to Moiaki, and it actually was batted away by Curtis Lofton. He gets in there. Well, I don't know. Lofton, stand corrected. I don't think Lofton touched it. I thought he touched it at first. It really just bounces off the forearm of Harper, who had a pretty decent shot at an interception.
Ryan Suckup from 38 yards out has 3 field goals already today. And that's 4. 9-11 to play here in the 4th. 3 points closer for the Chiefs. Back in the Superdome. Drew Brees waiting to take the field again, and his Saints have been much less impressive here in the second half than in the first.
New Orleans has got their guys up front like they're expecting Kansas City an onside kick. They've got 10 guys up there.
Darren Sproles is all the way up to about the 15-yard line.
I think they're sending a message to Kansas City. Don't even think about trying it.
And this will not be returned as it rolls out of bounds. It's been a different second half than the first half.
We've had a lot of things going on here. Matt Cassel gets picked off by Jabari Greer. And that set up this touchdown to Collins. And that put the Saints up 24-6. And then, wow, look out, Jamal Charles, 91-yard touchdown run. And then Drew Brees gets picked off by Stanford Routt when it looked like they were on their way in. And now, though, with the having to settle for a field goal, it's up to the Saints offense now to keep the ball for a while and tack on a few extra points.
Let's see what the Kansas City defense can do here against the Saints. First down.
Ready. You ready? Play shot.
Here, Thomas. Nowhere to go. Maybe lost a yard back to the 19.
He just bounces off his own line, which was stood up straight by the Kansas City defense. It's again being coordinated by Romeo Crennel. And you know, I guess you shouldn't make that big a deal about it, because let's face it, there's a lot of head coaches in this league that are in fact the offensive coordinator. That's what Sean Payton was with the Saints. So you know, he's not the first guy to do both jobs.
Ready. 90 press up.
On 2nd and 11. That came close to being picked off as Sproles bobbled it, and Justin Houston was right there waiting for the spoils.
And this is not anywhere close to being in rhythm, and you seldom see sure-handed Darren Sproles not handling a football that's placed right on his hands. And even Sproles was bothered by the fact that Justin Houston was so close.
3rd and 11. He's under pressure and goes down back at the 12.
And he had absolutely no place to go with the football, even if he didn't get rushed. Not a single Saints receiver got any separation at all. It's a delayed rush. You can see at the last minute, Johnson comes in, but it was the work inside. Now I'm telling you that, give Houston credit. He got the pressure in the middle, Johnson around the corner, and that was a meek and mild series for the Saints.
2 straight 3 and outs, and Javier Arenas is deep for the punt. And looking a chance to run this one back. Penalty marker flies. And look at this return. Inside the 30 to the 25. And down to the 20, but there's a flag way back here.
Oh, it's clear on the other side of the 50-yard line.
Here's Don King.
Holding during the return, number 30. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the flag. First down.
Jaleel Brown of the Chiefs with a hold that is going to wipe out a terrific punt return by Javier Arenas.
That's a lonely feeling over there on the sideline when you got to watch your teammates walk back about 40 yards and you realize that it's all on you. Well, right now, I would imagine that this Superdome is filled with a lot of nervous people.
Anxious,
nervous, disappointed in the performance of their defense, but they got a chance to make things better.
This is Charles. Nowhere to go on this one.
There's a good start.
Back to the line of scrimmage. Akeem Hicks, and Cameron Jordan with the stop. Jamal Charles, author of the first 200-yard rushing game in the league this year.
And, a 90-plus yard run will do it for you, but he's sporting a pretty nifty 10-yard per carry average.
Cassel. Going far side of the field, and that is complete. And coming to a halt there is Steve Breston. Those of you just joining us here in New Orleans, Greg Gumbel, Dan Beardorf, and the rest of our CBS Sports crew, it has been an interesting game to say the least. 2 0-2 teams, the Chiefs and the Saints, both desperately in need of a win. 3 touchdown passes by that man, Drew Brees, and what was once a comfortable 24-6 lead. All of a sudden, the Chiefs have come roaring back here in the second half to close to 24-19 on the legs of Jamal Charles, who has rushed for more than 200 yards today. 3rd and 8. Cassel to this side. Incomplete. Charles couldn't pull it in.
Well, again, a good job that time by the Saints to come with the blitz, and they really put pressure. Now it's picked up, and that means single coverage downfield. Cassel puts it on the hands of Charles. Even if he'd have caught that, I don't think he would have been able to get a first down. You just get the feeling that Darren Sproles has just been just a skosh away from making a big play in this game. With the return game, he's already had one with a run.
High kick, Sproles. Gonna let it bounce, and a fine job by the Chiefs special teams. They down the ball inside the 10. Corey Greenwood doing the honors. Good job by Dustin Colquitt.
Well, the last couple times the Saints have had the football, they have not looked very sound on offense. A couple 3 and outs. They weren't even close to moving the sticks. You can take a look. There's been a lot of offensive production in this game, especially by Kansas City, as they're over 400 yards on the day.
As we expected, because these teams had not shown very much on defense the first couple of weeks of the season.
Well, the Saints came in ranked number 32. The Chiefs 21, but in points, they're both last. Well, I got to tell you, in the second half, it has been pretty impressive the way the Kansas City Chiefs have elected to play defense. Eric Berry that time, Derek Johnson combined, but they've been playing with passion. They have been hitting hard, and it has been tough sledding for the Saints. And you got to give credit to Kansas City. They're getting after it.
2nd and 12. One deep safety in the middle of the field, and Brees under pressure. Loose ball.
Oh, I hear a whistle.
And it's a safety. The ruling is a safety at the goal line. And Justin Houston was in on Brees. What a game he has had today.
Let's take a look at it. There's Houston, number 50, coming in around the corner. And the ruling is that Drew Brees was tackled in the end zone. Boy, the question is whether or not he got
to the ground.
Yeah, did he go to does he touch the ground?
He rolled over on the tackler, and the ball came out before, looks like the ball came out before he made contact with the turf.
But now if he's... Let's hear.
Previous play is under review.
As is most everything we've had today.
Well, it's all turnovers and scoring plays are automatically under review. This is a scoring play because it was ruled a safety. You could hear the whistle blowing, which means the official ruled it a sack. And when he rules it a sack, that means that it doesn't mean that Drew Brees has to actually be on the ground.
Let's take a look at it again and listen for the whistle.
Well, the whistle doesn't come, at least the 1 week in here, doesn't come until way after the play is over.
And Brees is reaching to get out of the end zone.
But if the official rules it a sack, okay, at that point in time, the play is over. Now, we didn't hear a whistle blow, and I guess that's what the review system right now is trying to ascertain. Where exactly did the play end, because that's where it was ruled a sack, and I'm not sure how you quite do that.
Well, one thing's for sure, the Kansas City Chiefs would much prefer the ball inside the 5-yard line on offense with a chance to go for a touchdown.
In other words, you can grab a quarterback. He does not have to touch the ground for it to be a sack.
Now, those of you just joining us, we have already had 4 reversals today of calls made on the field. Well, Don King has seen what he needs to see.
After review, the ruling on the field stands.
So 2 points for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they will get the ball on the free kick.
Well, Drew Brees did everything he could do to get out of the end zone, but that is basically a judgment call by the official when he rules that the sack has ended the play. And they ruled that the sack ended the play in the end zone.
Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs have put 15 consecutive points on the board.
And of course, the interesting thing now is that a field goal for Kansas City ties this game. They have just steadily nibbled away at those 24 points that the Saints posted. And now they're going to get the football after the free kick.
Thomas Morstad going to kick it away, and Javier Arenas, who has done a pretty good job in the return department today, back inside his own 15-yard line. He's pulling this one in at the 25. And brought down at about the 38-yard line. So not bad field position for Matt Cassel and the Kansas City offense. And hanging over everyone's head, man, is that specter of starting a season 0-3.
And your chances of making it to the playoffs at 0-3 are dismal. You would join an extremely short list of teams that have done it.
Ball Charles. Brought down at the 39.
And then this is smart of Kansas City to keep hammering away, because that's where they've had the bulk of their success today, is running the football.
Look at that day for Jamal Charles, 22 carries.
And that shoe is still only halfway on.
And that's the way it's going to stay for a while.
That's trying to block a play with a blown tread.
58! Omaha!
Charles again. Trying to find running room, and there is none, and he has run out of bounds at the original line of scrimmage, so it'll be about 3rd and 10.
Oh, good job that time by the Saints of stringing it out. Shanley first, and then Roman Harper. They kept their contain, and Asamoah's got to get off the field.
He'll be replaced by the rookie Donald Stevenson. Charles goes out.
Well, Kansas City lost their center, Rodney Hudson, to an injury.
And wide receiver Dexter McCluster. 3rd and 10. Big play here for KC. Cassel. Looking for room, throws downfield, up high, and caught at midfield. Oh, what a catch by Baldwin.
Well, Matt Cassel isn't supposed to be able to do this. That's what Drew Brees is supposed to be able to do. Run circles in the backfield. Watch him turn around and look, and lucky for him, nobody was there. And then finally, he finds his 6'4" receiver downfield. What an incredible job of staying alive by Matt Cassel.
First down just shy of midfield. Cassel to throw. Gonna loft it down the sideline. It is incomplete. Bo doing battle down the sideline with Patrick Robinson.
Well, that was outstanding coverage by Patrick Robinson. This guy is developing into a tremendous corner, but look at him. Look at his ball awareness. He's looking back at the football the whole time. He elevates exactly the same time that Dwayne Bowe does. You see so many times corners don't have awareness of where the football is in the air. Not that time by Robinson.
2nd and 10, 3:46 to play in regulation. Drone for a yard. As we approach 3.5 on the clock. 3rd and 9.
And now the momentum shifts over here to the defense now. Curtis Lofton, the middle linebacker who's playing for Jonathan Vilma, who's on PUP. It's his first year with the Saints. He came over from Atlanta. And right now, Steve Spagnuolo's got his whole defensive playbook handy.
Jamal Charles back in the lineup. Cassel for Charles. Charles brought down at about the 46-yard line. That's about 5 yards short of a first down. Scott Shanley, Jabari Greer.
Well, you put the ball in the hands of your best open field runner, and you hope that he can break some tackles and move the chains for you. With 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning.
And the Chiefs took a timeout
to
stop the clock here.
Well, why did they take a timeout to stop the clock there?
So that leaves them with 1 timeout now.
Well, now that they only have 1 timeout left, I mean, he's got to seriously think about, can we get the football back?
Unless he's thinking about going for it on 4th down here.
Well, that's what I'm saying, now that he's down to 1 timeout. But if they'd have just punted the ball quickly there and gotten it downfield, then you would have had both timeouts and the 2-minute warning to stop the clock. If you didn't give a first down, you would get the football back with a fair amount of time.
Well, in that gather right there, it looks like Matt Cassel and Brian Dable are clearly in the mix, and they're going to go for it here on 4th down.
Well, yeah, now that they don't have a choice now that they burned that timeout.
So they will go for it here on 4th and 5.
And I guess it comes down to this. Who do you trust more, your defense or your offense? I think Kansas City's saying, let's put it in the hands of our offense.
Fourth and 5. Cassel throws, got Dwayne Bowe for a first down inside the 40. Clock continues to move. Doesn't look like they're going to get a play off before the 2-minute warning hits.
And no pressure at all on Matt Cassel. The Saints unable to mount a pass rush, and they paid a price for it.
And they do get a play off. And it's going to be Jamal Charles, and Charles all came close to breaking through inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. We get the 2-minute warning at 1:56. What's on the line here in New Orleans? How about the first victory of the season? Will it be the Chiefs? Will it be the Saints? We're coming back right after this. This is the NFL on CBS. It's a nervous New Orleans crowd, to say the least. If you're wondering about the long-distance capabilities of Ryan Suckup, the field goal kicker for the Chiefs, he has made his last 4 from 50-plus yards. His longest today, 45. First down. Jamal Charles, nowhere to go.
I think he even lost about a yard on that. Good work by Cameron Jordan. Last year's number 1, number 94. See him taking on blockers inside and keeps fighting.
And the Saints call a timeout to stop the clock here with 1:51.
Well, the Saints are thinking right now that if by chance Kansas City is able to execute a field goal and tie this game up, they'd like to have as much time as they possibly could on the back end.
Dan, these teams have played this game like two teams desperately needing a win.
Well, and desperate is the operative word for these two teams. 0-3 start. 3 teams since 1990 have ended up making the playoffs. I think since 1970, only 5 teams have started out 0-3 and ended up making the playoffs too. It's a stacked deck.
3rd and 5.
Hey! Run, Bob! Omaha!
And we get a whistle. And there was some personnel confusion on the part of the Saints, so they called a timeout just before the snap.
The Saints just called back-to-back timeouts. Did they not?
They did.
That's a no-no.
It looked like Jabari Greer was trying to get off the field on the near side.
You're not. You can see them scrambling to get off the field and then back on. Total confusion on the part. We have been deep into the NFL rulebook here today.
Here's Don King.
By rule, New Orleans is prohibited from taking 2 successive timeouts. That's a delay of game, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Well, that's properly administrated. You are not allowed to take consecutive timeouts. But it is not an automatic first down. It's just delay of game. So this is 3rd and
about a half a yard.
Yeah, not much.
Third and short. Jamal Charles, Nate Eachus in the backfield. And Cassel going to keep it and bull his way forward and appeared to have enough for a first down.
It sure looked like the surge was more than enough to move the sticks.
They will move the sticks. Clock continues to move. 1:35 in regulation.
If I was the Kansas City Chiefs, I would not be content to just sit here on the 29-yard line. I'd want to get my kicker a lot closer. This is no time to get lax.
Charles. Ooh.
How's that for being repelled?
At the line of scrimmage.
Jamal Charles just trying to find a little something here off left guard. And he is just shot backwards. Will Smith down there at the bottom of that grouping.
We are now under a minute to play. 50 seconds now to be exact. I wonder if that Cassel will take a shot at the end zone somewhere along the way here. 2nd and 10.
Omaha!
Charles again. To the 25. And it looks like they want to take this right down to the final few seconds. Ryan Succop getting loose on the sideline. He's been perfect today in 4 tries.
Well, Kansas City just took their final timeout.
Their last timeout comes with 8 seconds remaining in regulation.
You know, there's that old school of thought, should we have tried it on 3rd down when they had plenty of attempted the field goal on 3rd down in case they had a snap problem or a hold problem or something in a placement. That way you could try it again on 4th down as long as you retained possession of the ball.
And as we've been saying throughout the day, Darren, you can't emphasize enough the history of the bad history of starting 0-3
right
in a season.
And everybody remember, if by chance we do go to overtime, the new overtime rules are in effect, where if you just get a field goal on your first possession, the other team gets an opportunity to possess the ball.
43-yard attempt from Ryan Succop for the tie. And that's exactly what we have at 24 apiece with 3 seconds on the clock. 18 straight points on the board has pulled Kansas City to a 24-all tie.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Not much of a mystery. This was just right down the middle by Succop. So now we're just probably going to see some type of a knuckleball squib kick from the Chiefs, and we will head to overtime unless somebody from New Orleans pulls a miraculous return.
I know one thing. I don't know if I were Kansas City that I'd want the football anywhere near Mr. Sproles.
No, that's why I'm saying I think you can pretty much count on some kind of a knuckleball coming down here. I don't think Darren Sproles is going to be able to field this on the fly standing at the goal line. Well, a lot of credit to the Kansas City Chiefs, who haven't been ahead for a single second in a game so far this season. This is going to be the end of regulation for 3.
There's the bouncer.
As expected, to someone other than Darren Sproles.
Jed Collins scooped it up at the 30-yard line, and we will go to overtime.
Looks like there's
So Brees will come out for a snap, and we'll see whether he takes a knee or tries to launch one.
You know, that's a good illustration of a player giving himself up. Which, by the way, we had a controversy surrounding that in the first half.
Ready? Hey, you ready for a shot?
Brees takes an unobstructed knee. And we get set for overtime. There will be a coin toss to decide first possession. and 15 minutes on the clock.
But sudden death in overtime now doesn't exist unless both teams have scored a field goal, and then we would go to, then it becomes sudden death. But if the first team is not able to score a touchdown, but they score a field goal, they must kick off to the other team, and they have a chance to possess it.
Coaches' challenges are out the window in overtime. There are booth reviews only.
Yeah, everything's just like the last 2 minutes of either half. And with these two offenses, I would think that they would both like to start with the football.
Okay, we're going to overtime. We'll have one period of 15 minutes. We'll be playing fourth quarter timing rules. Each team will get 2 timeouts. All replays will be initiated in the booth. Both teams will be given an opportunity to possess the ball unless there's a touchdown or a safety scored on the first possession. We can end in a tie. It's your call. Heads he called. And it is a heads. It's your option. You want the ball? Which way will you kick?
Kick this way.
Kick this direction. Kansas City will receive at this end to start overtime.
These Kansas City Chiefs have been on a roll since they came out of the locker room at halftime. They'll get a chance to continue it in overtime when we come back. Back in New Orleans for overtime, and here's overtime in a nutshell. The Chiefs have won the coin toss. They will receive. 15 minutes on the clock. Both teams have to possess the ball once unless a touchdown or a safety is scored on the first possession after the kickoff. If the score is tied after each team's first possession, then we get sudden death and the next score wins the game. Each team with 2 timeouts available. Are we clear on that, Dano?
Yes, we are. And again, it's I think it's a good move by the NFL.
Sean Drone is deep for Kansas City.
I think it's a lot more equitable, giving both teams a chance if it's only a few.
Drone will not run this out of the end zone. So Matt Cassel and company will start from their own 20-yard line, and Matt Cassel, 21 out of 35 on the day for 197 yards. This has been a different Kansas City team once they came out of the locker room at halftime.
Well, and the reality of it, Greg, is that Kansas City has held New Orleans in under 300 total yards for this game, and it's not very often that this high-powered Saints offense gets limited to a game where they don't deliver at least 300-plus yards.
Jamal Charles in the backfield. Play fake. Throwing over the middle, and he's got his man across the 35 to the 37 or 38-yard line, and that is Dwayne Bowe.
Well, Dwayne Bowe has done a lot of the heavy lifting today in between the numbers for the Chiefs. And he gets a little separation on Patrick Robinson. He knows he's going to take a big hit from the safety in the middle.
17-yard pickup, first down, Kansas City at their own 37.
That's a half a dozen receptions for Bowe.
Cassel again. Cassel going to go far side and out of bounds. Bowe was covered there by Jabari Greer. It'll be 2nd and 10.
You know, the Saints are happy to have Jabari Greer working his way back into game shape. He had that sports hernia back in training camp. He didn't play in any of the preseason games. He missed the opener, had to play nickelback last week, and now is starting to find his stride.
What's up?
This is Jamal Charles. Out to maybe about the 38.5, 39-yard line. Curtis Lofton and Broderick Bunkley coming down the line to make the stop. What a day for number 25. 273 total yards, including a 91-yard run for a touchdown.
And you know, Jamal Charles is not, he's not a huge, powerful back. I mean, you wouldn't confuse him physically with Earl Campbell. 28 carries on the day. That is a lot of work.
3rd and 8. Cassel over the middle. Charles Charles diving for the first down and appears to be right at that sticks.
I think he got it.
First down, Kansas City.
Again, the Kansas City game plan revolves so much about getting the ball to Jamal Charles out in space. Yeah, it wasn't quite that easy, Matt. It was a first down by maybe a couple feet.
Omaha, set.
Number 38, this is Drone. And the first-year running back out of North Carolina into New Orleans territory.
And we haven't seen Peyton Hillis since he limped over to the Kansas City sideline in I guess I was at the beginning of the fourth quarter when he attempted to catch a pass, and it looked like he pulled a muscle somewhere in either his back or his lower leg. So Sean Drone getting a lot of work. Give Jamal Charles a blow every now and then.
Cassel to throw. Over the middle again, and this time knocked down. Intended for Bo, knocked down by, was that Malcolm Jenkins?
Dwayne?
No, I'm sorry, Jabari Greer.
Yeah, that's Greer, number 33, coming in from behind. He knocks the ball away, but then coming in, Malcolm Jenkins right into the legs of Dwayne Bowe. Dwayne Bowe was looking kind of, that's really hitting a guy when he's got no chance to defend himself at all. Dwayne Bowe is taking some real shots today.
Bowe says, I'm good to go. 3rd and 4. Cassel throws and cut down with the catch. Steve Breston, Roman Harper with the hit.
Well, there's where experience really comes into play. Roman Harper is all over this. Steve Breston coming across, and Roman Harper is just there waiting for him. Harper sitting back there, and he sees Breston coming the whole way. Nicely done by the veteran strong safety.
Darren Sproles back at his 10. Sproles going to let it bounce. And saved inside the 5 by Kansas City. Jaleel Brown into the air at the goal line to bat it back.
Big time play by Brown. He's got to leave in the field of play, which he does. And he's got to propel it back without touching the ground in the end zone. Wow. It looked like he was within inches of touching the goal line before he elevated, but he got it done.
So now, Drew Brees and the Saints from their own 3.
It is a sudden death game now. When Kansas City didn't score on their own possession, on their first possession, the Saints are getting their possession. It is now sudden death. They're going to take a look to see whether or not Jaleel Brown stepped on the goal line before he went up.
Well, there was an official standing right there.
Well, again, this is called for from up in the booth. You know, it means 18 yards of position to the Saints, so if it's that close, take a peek. Let's see what we can see. Sure looks to me like he's in the field of play.
And nothing but red shirts around it, as it should be.
Looking at grass pretty much all the way around his white shoe. Looks like there's nothing but green. There's really a definitive look at it. I don't think there's any question that Brown's in the field of play before he goes up in the air. Well, that's open and shut. Good look, guys. That was...
Boy, you cannot say enough about these Kansas City Chiefs here in the fourth quarter, or the second half.
That's wonderful hustle by Jaleel Brown. It's fine awareness and athleticism. He's been coached and he's worked on this, I'll guarantee you, day in and day out at practice, getting there and planting that foot and elevating without touching the goal line. I'm a little amazed that it's taking this long. This is pretty open and shut.
It was kind of open and shut when it happened.
Well, I agree.
So Don King going to tell you what you already know.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. First down.
Okay.
Know how to dress here in New Orleans, don't they?
They know how to root for their beloved Saints.
Betcha.
You are hard-pressed to go anywhere in this part of Louisiana where you don't hear people talking about Saints 24/7.
Here we go. First team to score wins. Brees. Pump fake. Throw. In and out of the hands of Jimmy Graham. Let's get an update from New York. JB and the coach.
Ryan Clark sets this up for Pittsburgh, coach.
Yeah, Heath Miller's going to take this from 5 yards out. Touchdown right there, 7 plays, 36 yards. Pittsburgh up 7-0.
Some of you will see this game here on CBS coming up after this one. Let's go back to Greg and Dan.
Oh, it's not so fast, JB. We got pralines on order after this one.
Keep in mind, any penalty that would occur in the end zone is a safety and a game ender.
And Brees got rid of that one in a hurry. And Brees now over his last 6 throwing the football. 3rd and 10.
Boy, this is where, as an offensive lineman, you are so nervous about holding somebody. That's a walk-off. That's just head right on up the tunnel.
Out of the end zone, got rid of it, throwing down this side of the field, incomplete.
And boy, did Drew Brees take it right in the chops as his pocket in front of him just disintegrated. He's trying to step up into this, and he's able to throw the ball and put something on it, but he gets hit immediately.
And now the benefit of a terrific special teams play down deep is the Chiefs are looking at some fairly decent field position. Arenas back in his 40. And doesn't quite get to midfield, but that's good operating room for Matt Cassel in the Kansas City offense.
Well, this is all you can ask for as an offense. When you get an opportunity, you're just 3 yards short of midfield, and what you need is a field goal. This is a golden opportunity for Kansas City. And Steve Spagnuolo, I think, defensive coordinator of the Saints, maybe going to have to gamble a little more than he might be comfortable doing, trying to create a big play for his defense.
Charles, the lone back behind Cassel.
120. What's up?
Straight drop. Down the sideline for Bowe.
Oh, right through his hands. It looked like he shoved off of Patrick Robinson, didn't it?
Well, the fans sure think so.
Well, Patrick Robinson ends up on his rear end. Now, from that angle, you can't really see it, so Robinson kind of stumbles and falls backwards. The reality is, forget the penalty. That was a very catchable ball.
You bet. That's the kind of ball Dwayne makes.
He's been catching them so far this game.
Charles, near side.
And the crowd is screaming for a holding call.
So is the New Orleans sideline. Loss of 2, 3rd and 12.
Let's take a look. Well, there's a little defensive holding there, but out at the point of attack.
So there's a little give and take on both sides. 3rd and 12. Cassel out of the backfield is Drone, and Drone reaching for the first down, lost the football, going the other way, the Saints.
No official blew that ball down.
Is there a whistle or no?
Well, you look for an official to be making the spot. Normally an official runs in and points to the ground when a guy's down by contact.
And that didn't happen.
Previous play is under review.
Oh, you betcha.
Well, what's the ruling on the field?
Exactly.
Oh, he's down. He's down with possession of the football. There's no question about that.
But there was no call made at the time.
No. Yeah, right there he's down, and he's got the football, but I saw no ruling on the field that he was down.
Nope.
Shanley comes in and puts a great hit on Drone. And when that elbow touches the ground, the right thigh's on the ground, he's in full possession of the football.
Now, it's also going to be really important where this ball is spotted.
And because it's in relation to, I don't know how close he was to the first down.
He's right. Looks to be maybe, from the replay, looks to be maybe about a yard shy.
But when the ruling on the field is down by contact, an official comes flying in, pointing to the ground, stopping the play. He's going, it's down, down, down here. That did not happen. I didn't see any official make a call. And then Don King, the referee, goes, well, we're going to review. The play's under review, but he's got to tell us what the ruling on the field was.
In other words, there's been no decision made on the field, so the review is going to provide the decision. First, he has to look at the play, and then if it's in favor of the Chiefs, he has to look at the spot.
Well, I don't think there's any question that he's down. There's Don King up here. He signals it. Well, Don King, I know Don King is at the top, another official at the bottom. They both signal touchdown. So
you presume the ruling on the field is a fumble.
Now that we see that they actually signaled it there, but as we know, it's not a touchdown. So they've got to determine where to spot this football. Where was the ball when Sean Drone his elbow touches the ground? Right there, the play's over. Where is that football? This will give us a better look right here.
Needs to get to the 43.
All right. I'd say he's really close.
Really close.
To the 43.
And there's lots of conversation down here. And you have to think part of that discussion is where the ball is going to be spotted. These fans won't like it, but that's the way it is.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The runner's knee was down. The ball was at the 43.5-yard line. We'll set the ball at the 43.5-yard line and measure to determine whether it's fourth down or first down.
Now at the 43.5, that
no
would be
time
a
adjustment.
half yard shy of a first down. And that is our 5th reversal of the day.
Well, how can he say there's no time adjustment? If they ruled on the field that it was a touchdown, the clock should have been running the whole time Roman Harbor was running.
Now, from that placement there,
looks like they're going to be
about a
short.
half a yard short of a first down.
Oh, and won't this be
Romeo Cornell has a decision to make.
Won't this be some decision for a defensive coordinator by nature, whose instincts are don't put my defense in a tough spot?
His offense is already huddled up. Matt Cassel still on the field. That much.
Romeo. You know what? Again, it's do you turn the ball over to Drew Brees? I think not.
I like the call.
Yeah.
He's going for it on 4th down.
I think not. I don't give Drew Brees a chance at home.
Jamal Charles and Nate Eaches. This is Charles. He's got the first down to the 41. Quick snap, quick burst right side, first down.
Yeah, I don't think that's just a good call by Romeo, and there's just you just don't kick it away. And I know they haven't had success in the last half of the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter, but that's a recipe for failure.
Charles looking for running room. Knocked out of bounds at the 40, hard by Curtis Lofton. Let's get an update from JB and the coach in New York.
Houston on top now, Coach. Most of you will see this contest at the end of this one. Back to Greg and Dan.
All right, JB, 2nd and 10 for Kansas City. Cassel, short pop inside the 40 to about the 36 to Tony Moeaki.
Well, they're down there around a 53-yarder or so. I know they'd feel a lot more comfortable if they could get stuck up closer than this.
Suck up with a career long of 54.
A critical no sack, no penalty for the Kansas City Chiefs. The linemen pin those hands to your chest.
Cassel throw. That is complete inside the 30-yard line to Bo for a first down.
And Robinson again pleading that Bo pushed off. Let's take a look at this. Man coverage all the way. That's a good no call. I mean, there's Robinson was in there. Good contact between both guys. Dwayne Bowe is just a tough customer this afternoon.
And we are at that point in overtime where a field goal wins the game. Next point's on the board. Win it. Whoa! Off the right side. Inside the 25 to the 20.
Well, and right now the New Orleans Saints defense, they're walking mighty slow back to the line of scrimmage. I think they're realizing the gravity of their situation right now. And Kansas City, keep doing what you're doing. You're liable to end this thing with a touchdown.
Jamal Charles deep back behind Cassel. Gets the ball, cuts it inside to about the 17. 7:50 to be played here in this sudden death overtime now.
You can make the argument. You go ahead and kick it now. It's, a touchdown is a sure thing. A field goal is not. There's just, you can get on either side of the aisle on this argument and carry on a compelling case. If they were to fumble the ball here running a play, you can argue both sides of this with ease.
Charles to the 15. Ryan Suckup has been money in the field goal department today. Jamal Charles, meanwhile, continues to rack up the carries, 33 of them for 233 yards and a touchdown. He is going to sleep well tonight.
Again, you run the risk of a holding call, of some sort of a penalty that backs you up.
This is Grove. 2 more yards to the 13. And
timeout, Kansas City.
Kansas City going to take a timeout, and we're coming back. Welcome back to New Orleans. The Kansas City Chiefs field goal unit on the field to win the game. Ryan Suckup, 5 out of 5 in field goals today. This would not only win the game, it would be a new franchise record for field goals in a game.
We'll see if Aaron Kromer, the interim head coach of the Saints, is in a mood to ice him by calling a timeout right before they're ready to snap the ball.
No timeout. The snap. And it's over. The Kansas City Chiefs were down 24-6 at one point in this game. They come roaring back and win it in overtime.